prices. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. Welcome to the show, everybody. 253-263-1540. We've got a lot to talk about. Disney stock prices are up. There's Star Wars news because it seems like every week there's Star Wars news. So welcome to the show. Write down that phone number. Give us a call. We've got a lot to talk about. We're live on TikTok. We're live on Instagram. Help us hit that gift goal over on TikTok. Show your support for the show. 253-263-1540. Good morning, everybody. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now.
Hey now, hey now.
That's right, Ellis. Look at you. Hey now, hey now. Good morning, everybody. He shot out of a cannon. Aren't we all?
Hey now, hey now.
Thank you, Ellis. The intro's over. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 253-263-1540. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. It's a Monday. It's a Monday. And we're getting it started. We've got a new graphic for the podcast. We're always leveling up or plussing it, to use Disney terminology. But speaking of Ellis, I've got to, right off the bat, Disney stock is up. I got a couple victory laps right off the bat. Number one, Disney stock is up. I said last week on the live show. Now, if you caught the podcast with Kenzie and I over the weekend, we talked about the fight. I'll talk about the fight in a minute. But last week on the live show, I was talking about Disney stock prices hopefully hitting $110 or exceeding. And they did overnight. I didn't expect it overnight. So very good news on that front. But let's talk Star Wars for a minute, because my real victory lap lay with Star Wars news. Last week, Ellis told me that much like Lucasfilm stated, Rey was in fact the future of Star Wars. This week, I should say this past week, since we last spoke here on the live, they canceled the Rey film. So days later, after saying Rey was the future, you can't write this stuff. I don't know what is going on over in Lucasfilm territory. You can't write this stuff. But they said the next Star Wars film has been canceled, and they put up a picture of Rey. All right. So I'm seeing that over on several feeds over on Twitter. So Ellis, I'm sorry, Rey's future lasted like a week. 1 week. It's over. So that's my real victory lap. But give me a call, 253-263-1540. And then it occurred to me, how if Ellis had the passion that he has for Rey, first of all, when Ellis can get anything done that he wants, right? If he really is passionate about something. But if we could somehow convince Ellis to have that sort of verve for the rivers of America, nobody else would have to do anything. He could single-handedly, no pun intended, get them to reverse course. I did not mean to say that. I apologize. But it's the truth. Because he would just call Bob Iger over and over. Bob Iger would resign. He'd be like, I give up. So that's what we're going to weaponize Ellis. We got to convince Ellis to abandon. I got to talk to Ellis's mom. What I need to do is this is economic. We got to teach Ellis a lesson in economics, okay, and go right to the supplier and cut off this Rey spend. No more Rey spend. Ellis should only be allowed to buy Liberty Square and Rivers of America merchandise. I saw there was a Christmas special on Disney Plus, like Walt Disney's Christmas. I haven't checked it out yet. But I am looking forward to that. I love Christmas in Disney. I do. I really do. I do. I didn't do the Christmas party because I have issues with the pricing structure. I really, I've seen that enough. But I love it. I love going down Main Street. I was just back in the park the last couple days, and I'm reminded of so many things, that you walk away for just a quick minute. And you're reminded of so many things. And the experience, I got a survey from Disney just from going back the other day, and it was a 45-minute survey. I mean, it's ridiculous. And but anyway, I filled it out, and it's asking me what I enjoyed about my trip to the Magic Kingdom, and I stated it's the ambiance. Everything that makes the Magic Kingdom special exists, in my opinion, on Main Street through the hub to Liberty Square and off through Frontierland. I mean, that sort of artery is the distinguishing factor of the park, because once you get over to Tomorrowland, and once you get over, and I love Tomorrowland, obviously, and once you get over to the Fantasyland expansion, it's a concrete pad. But when you go over to that side of the park, it just encapsulates something. It's magical. That is the magic. You take that out, there's no magic, there's no soul. I digress. But if we get Ellis to be as passionate about the rivers of America, I'm certain that can move the needle. So I don't know if he's going to call in later. I really do. I really want to give him a hard time about that Ray news. But there's so much Disney news. The stock is up. The earnings call was pretty positive. I mean, for the most part, they are, right? They tend to be. But they gave a roadmap of the future. My favorite part of the earnings call was the hot mic slip up. Bob Iger giving out numbers he shouldn't have given out. But, in this whole sort of, they call it the arms race, in the content wars, in the streaming platform arms race, Disney Plus has come so far. They announced they're adding an ESPN tile. ESPN's going to get a standalone platform, a standalone app, if you will, with betting and all of this. So, the evolution of Disney Plus from scratch has been huge, despite what you may say about the nature of some of the content, but it's been huge for the company. It's been a real boost, and they were really, really smart, right? I mentioned this before, but they bought something called BAM, which I believe was just based off of doing streaming for the MLB, right? And BAM became the foundation for Disney Plus. And so far, I don't know, and you're going to catch on very quickly where I'm going with this, but I don't know how many fumbles Disney Plus has had. They've managed to, they're bringing in the sports. They've managed to pull that off. They've made the pivot to Hulu. There was the Fox acquisition, which was huge. Because it started off, if you remember, it was just Disney and Pixar and Marvel and Lucasfilm or Nat Geo. And so there wasn't a lot. I mean, there was a lot, but there wasn't a lot in terms of what they call tiles, right? Because tiles is sort of the lingo for channels now. But Disney's gone really, really, they've gone really fast. They've accelerated, and Kevin Mayer gets a lot of credit for that. He's gone. He should come back. He should be one of the CEOs. But they get a lot of credit as a whole. The company does get a lot of credit for their success with Disney Plus. They came out of nowhere. Netflix was the big winner forever. Netflix started as direct to video or DVDs, right? So direct to mail. And in the old days of Netflix, and I remember this very well, okay, you would get your DVDs, you would put them in a queue, like a virtual queue almost, if you will, online. And as you got your DVD, you'd return it, and they put it in the mail, and it just came in a little red envelope. That was the whole deal. And then Netflix started adding content online. So now if you wanted to add the DVD to your queue, there was a button right above it that showed you that maybe it was available to watch instantly. It was called like Instant Watch, right? Because these terms we have now didn't exist. And over time, that became more and more common across the platform. As that started to evolve, okay, it became quite clear that the DVD business wasn't going to be the future of the brand. you could see that this instant watch was going to evolve because the menu for it started to evolve. The user interface started to be more geared towards what was instant to watch, right? At some point, Netflix decides to break off and create Flixster. I don't know who out there remembers this. The outcry from the consumer market was so massive, because it was a fumble to disconnect the primary business from where they were headed. It was one big business, and they wanted to split it up. And there was major outcry, and almost instantly, Netflix reversed course. By the way, give me a call, 253-263-1540. I love this new phone system. But immediately, Netflix reversed course. So now, I was about to make another really bad pun because I was going to say fast forward to the other night, and I can't help it, but this just happens. But you look at what happened the other night, and it's not an anomaly in the streaming landscape because I do believe those problems existed with that Conor McGregor fight. Okay, but you look at what Netflix pulled off the other night, and much like Kenzie and I talked about the other day on the podcast, and if you haven't listened to the podcast, go to Under the Influence, wherever you listen to your podcast, because this and that, it's all there for you. But what happened the other night's a scam. It's a scam. You know, that outcry that existed for Flixster, where is that? Where is the outcry? And by the way, I got my refund. I called Netflix. I tweeted out the phone number. I called them up. I told them the only reason I signed up for Netflix was for the fight. And they were like, well, what do you want? And I was like, well, I want my money back. And they were like, well, if we give you your money back, we're going to cancel your subscription. I said, fantastic. So call them. I tweeted out the phone number. But where's the consumer outcry? I just don't understand it. Like, they sold, not only did they sell bad entertainment, which you can't really gripe about because that's the relationship we have with entertainment, and we all wanted to be entertained. And even if we're all griping about it at the end of the night, we were entertained. But what was not entertaining, by the way, that woman's fight was the show. But what was not entertaining was the connectivity issues that everybody had. And I just don't understand how they get away with that. It boggles my mind how Netflix, I don't know, I'm not looking at the market, so I don't know what's going to happen this morning with Netflix. I don't know what's happened over the weekend. But I look at that and I go, where, because I remember Flixster. I remember it distinctly. And the outcry was, don't break the product. And this is a broken product. Like, how do you, and okay, look. I understand that the fight wasn't entertaining because, you know, at the end of the day, let's just be honest. It's not boxing. It's sports entertainment. They're trying to compete with the UFC, right? Netflix is beta testing their live feature with the consumer marketplace as a whole. Instead of doing some sort of exclusive product and making it available, they're beta testing in a real world environment, right? That's what that was. And I don't know how that's acceptable. I guess it's acceptable because most people already, in theory, had Netflix. But you got to believe they're spending that kind of money to do that kind of thing to bring in new subscribers. So I understand how maybe, you know, the average Netflix subscriber who wasn't there just for that is like, wow, that really sucked. But, you know, okay, I'm going to go back to watching Bluey. Just stop. But you know, now the new people, I would think the new people who are like, hey, I'm really excited for football over here, are going to be like, no. And now the other question I have with that, because it is Amazon servers, okay, unless something changed I'm not aware of, because Amazon also has live sports, are they going to have the same issues as Netflix? So back in the day, it was all good. You paid a ton of money for your cable, but more times than not, you did not have signal issues. So it was a broken product in more ways than one the other night. But that woman's fight, oh my God, that fight was crazy good. Now, if you could get the transmission, if you get the signal issue right, and show more events like that, all the better. But nobody wants to see. That was, I don't even know, man. I mean, I guess we all knew going into it that it was going to go the distance purely for the entertainment value, because you don't spend that kind of money to not fill the hours of content that you are intending to. But then the next night, there's this UFC fight, and I didn't watch it. My neighbors did, because believe me, I could hear them. And that thing was going all night. That sounded like boom, 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 boom. And then I heard Dana White even say that. He's like, yeah, we just go boom, 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 back to back to back to back. They had an hour and a half between every fight. So I don't know. I don't know how they get away with it. I often wonder how Netflix gets away with a lot of what they do. In the early days, Netflix spent like $100 million to produce House of Cards. One series cost $100 million to produce. But they did it because they were launching something, right? They were launching something, and it was quality. If anybody watched House of Cards, those first few seasons of House of Cards were genius. Genius, but it was quality. Now somehow we've traded quality for quantity, okay, and they get away with it, and we let them get away with it. I don't like it, so I'm complaining about it. 253-263-1540. Give me a call. I want to talk to you. I'm waiting to hear from Ellis, but I don't think he heard me say what I said about Ray. I saw a post from IGN. IGN, of all the video game site. First of all, I thought IGN was gone. I didn't even realize these people were still around. IGN said Princess Tiana's Bayou Adventure is one of the best. Hold on. It's a worthy replacement for Splash Mountain and has already cemented itself as one of Disney Park's best attractions. That is just not a true statement, and I want to know how much they were paid to put it out, because they're a video game site. Why are you even chiming in? Yes, we've moved on. I'm sorry. It's not. It's just not. And I'm not knocking the ride, okay? I'm just saying, that's propaganda. That's corporate propaganda, and I want to know if IGN's owned by Disney at some point, okay? Because I feel like IGN used to be owned by Fox. Okay, I don't. Who knows anymore? But that's hogwash. I mean, come on. I was on that ride the other day. First of all, the amount, and I think I talked to Kenzie about this over the weekend, but the amount of exposition on that ride is ridiculous. If you have to, in any scenario, have characters tell you what's going on, then you failed the mission of storytelling. Especially in a place that prides itself on experiences. If you have to have your characters tell you what's going on in any environment, in any attraction, in any show, okay? Because if you do that on a stage play, it's called a narrator, okay? So if your ride requires a narrator, then perhaps you failed to provide an experience. Can't wait to see what they do with Cars Land. Although, little birdie, I get these little birdies reach out to me. And I don't want to say too much, because every time I say something, people get all up in arms. A little birdie told me the other day about the People Mover, and I made a video about the People Mover, and everybody loses their mind on TikTok. I wish these people cared that much about real issues. But oh my gosh, people, maybe you shouldn't say something until you have all the information. Shut up. I'm not even going to waste my wit on you. I got the scoop. I put it out there. It wasn't that serious. And there's like 3 different types of people freaking out over there, Oh, I hope it doesn't affect my trip. How could you say that without all the information? Guys, it goes down all the time. Relax. This is January. I'm like, God, everybody, okay, thanks for the engagement. But, I don't even like when my videos go viral. Thank God they don't half the time. Not half the time, 90% of the time they don't. I don't want a viral video, because I don't want to read that stuff. It gives me anxiety. Too much exposition on that ride. I was on it the other day for the first time in a long time. And then you shrink down. Why do you shrink? Can somebody please call in and explain to me why you shrink down on that ride for like 30 seconds and then have to be brought back? Why couldn't we just stay at the same scale the entire attraction? What was the purpose of changing our scale? Was it for the finale? I don't understand it. Was it to make some oversized animatronics just to fill the space? And then when we get to the finale, go, look, those cute critters are now smaller because of, scale? Why do we shrink down on that ride? Why? The narrator didn't tell me. By the way, yes, I am wearing a Joe Coconut shirt. And thank you for contributing to the gift goal over on TikTok. TikTok, they should change the name and do a branding thing. But thank you for contributing to the gift goal. That lets me know that you like what we're doing. And we're going to go to the phones. My favorite part of doing this broadcast. 863, you're on the air. Who's this?
Good morning, Royce. My name's Laura.
Good morning, Laura. How are you?
I'm fine. I've been following you for about 2.5 years. And I just wanted to comment something on the Tiana subject. I was kind of shocked at the amount of videos that I'm seeing across TikTok or TikTok, however you want to say it. I was kind of surprised at the amount of videos that I saw on it about people complaining about getting wet on this ride.
Right. It's a water ride.
To me, Tiana's was just a splash mountain with trees. I mean, that's pretty much what they did to it. To me, it didn't really make sense to me.
That's like complaining about sweating when you go to Orlando.
Exactly.
Well, people will complain about anything. I uploaded the podcast like as a podcast feed to YouTube the other night. So now not just the video is there, but the same audio you would get like on Spotify, YouTube will aggregate. Okay. So I just kind of like said it and walked away, and I don't know, I went to like Dunkin'. Okay. Can't say Dunkin' Donuts. It's just Dunkin'. We don't have time to say donut anymore. Everything's too fast paced. Just Dunkin'. But I went shot out of a cannon. I always am. I'm sorry. It's radio. You have to be. But anyway, like, I've lost my train of thought because now I went on a Dunkin' rant. All right. But I did. You have to bring me back in because I that drove me crazy. I went again this morning and I'm like, what happened to donut? When did they drop the donut? You know?
Yeah, we were talking about Tiana's.
No, I know, but people will complain about anything. Like I said, I was uploading the YouTube thing, uploading the podcast to YouTube. So I said it, like walked away, came back, sipping on my Dunkin', and I get all these nasty comments because like one of the first interviews we ever did on the podcast was with Eugenia, and she's so nice. And I wasn't going to like browbeat the woman. She was nice enough to come on. And I'm getting all these nasty comments, and I'm like, I didn't even know. I just said it, forget it, walk away. People like, are you just waiting? Do you have this poor woman's name in a Google alert that when that went up, you were just waiting to be nasty? What's wrong with people?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, across the board. That's what they do. I mean, you have trollers sitting back and just watching everything you do. I don't do a lot of commenting on live videos because just sitting back and looking at the crap that comes across on any of the live videos that you do is like, really, people? I don't understand it. I mean, it's like sitting there waiting for you to do anything wrong, make a wrong step, a wrong anything, just waiting for you.
But that's their version of being entertained. You see, this culture, this social media culture, because of the nature of engagement, it breeds that. And there's a whole thing out there of people creating rage bait and all of that. It's not healthy.
I guess the negative gets the ratings. I don't know. I mean, that's usually what it comes down to.
All I know is some lady commented, okay, that I am like, the worst interviewer ever. And all I saw was, wow, last week she didn't even know who I was. Now I'm the worst. Like
Right.
now I'm like ranking. You know what I mean? I'll take worst interviewer ever. That's great. That's an accomplishment. We can work with that. We can build off of that. In just 1 week, you know, I've moved the needle with this lady. She didn't even know who I was. So I'll take the W. But I mean, Jesus, lady, go finish your Haagen-Dazs. Leave me alone. I just picture
And
a
the
very
only other
bitter
thing I
person.
wanted to say was I really, really hope that Ellis shows up at Kenzie's wedding as an usher.
Oh no, we're gonna
I'm
make that
pushing
happen.
for that.
I think, yeah, no, I think he should, because and then like I said, not only does Ellis show up, but then we coordinate that all the guests bombard Ellis with questions. Let me tell you something. I had to call Ellis the other day because I wanted to get him to say hey now and record it, and he didn't pick up, so I just kept calling because I don't care. That's what he does to me, right? So this is my one opportunity, like just to organically get retribution. So I just keep calling and calling and calling. And then he finally picks up and he's like, I got to call you back. I'm busy. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Like,
Oh.
this is really bruising my ego right now. What are you doing that's more important than this? Right. He was at some sporting event.
How dare he have something to do in his life?
Do you know how deflating that is, that like Ellis can't take your call?
Right.
No, really.
Right.
Like, do you understand? Like that just knocked me down a few pegs and let me know that maybe I'm not the worst interviewer in the world. Maybe like I have a long way to go. You know.
Well, maybe call him at 3 a.m. like he did to you during Tokyo.
Oh my gosh. He didn't even call once. That's the problem. He called me multiple times. I'm sleeping on a couch in Tokyo. Okay. Jet lagged out the wazoo. And Ellis is calling me, asking me if I'm going to be live tomorrow. I'm like, I don't even know what day tomorrow is. Like, why are you calling me? You know? I hope his mom calls in today.
We all love Ellis. We just love Ellis so
yeah,
much.
but Ellis's mom is
And
way more
it
entertaining.
just wouldn't be.
Listen, let me tell you
It just-
something. Are you familiar with the oxpecker and the rhino?
No.
Okay, they have a symbiotic relationship. I kind of feel like that's my relationship with Ellis, particularly when we play Fortnite, because, listen, he's up my tookus more than a proctologist when we play Fortnite. I mean, I turn around and Ellis is right there. It scares me, okay? But, I love him to death, but, like, it's just a lot. It's a lot, you know? And so I make the correlation of the oxpecker because while there's a lot of value in that relationship, all right, and the oxpecker sits, that little pecker sits on the back of the rhino, cleaning up the parasites. Sometimes he becomes the parasite. I love you, Ellis.
But
I'm just trying to go
we all
get a
need
call
it.
in.
We all need a little dirt in our life. We need
It's
a little
fine.
dirt in our life. Everybody does.
Just makes me the rhino. I don't know. Listen, I love him to pieces, but he drives me crazy. He drives me mashugana, if you speak Yiddish. That's the only real way I can get it out. He drives me mashugana. But we love him.
Well, you made him come out of retirement on Fortnite, so
Yeah, imagine that. Unbelievable. He's the only person I know that goes into retirement in a game that he barely plays. You know.
right. Well,
I think it just comes down to like what words, you know, feel right. And I think he just likes retirement. It sounds good for the brand, the Ellis brand. But we could send him to Kenzie's wedding.
Don't you have to have a certain number of? Don't you have to have a certain number of hours to be able to go into retirement?
I don't know what the rules are, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Listen.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with Ellis. We should deputize Ellis. Like we could start him off with Kenzie's wedding, but Ellis could be like a field reporter for this program, and Ellis could just go out there and just gather. You know, he would be great at it because Ellis doesn't take no for an answer. So you could send Ellis, and we could send Ellis to Washington D.C. That'd be like a bad '80s movie. Okay, Ellis goes to Washington. But we could send Ellis anywhere that we want answers. Okay, we'll send Ellis to Lucas. Well, maybe we shouldn't send him to Lucasfilm. Maybe that's not a good idea. But anywhere else, he'd get very shiny object syndrome if we send him to Lucasfilm.
Exactly. Right.
I digress. I'm taking up
I'm
all the
really
air.
kind of waiting to hear.
Do you have any questions?
I'm waiting to hear what he. I wait to hear what he's going to have to say about Ray.
Oh, we all are. I mean, listen. I'll get 45 minutes out of that when he calls in. He's probably not even up yet. He had a big day yesterday. But what else? What else do you have for me? What are your thoughts on this whole Rivers of America situation?
I don't particularly like it. I mean, Disney is nostalgia for me. So I'm of the age group. I'm above your age group even. So I don't really like it. I mean, they've got plenty of land back there that they don't need to be touching some of the stuff that Walt put in there. I mean, there's a reason for it.
Well, Roy, but correct. Yeah. And I think they're hearing. I think they're hearing, but we can't let up. We can't let up. You know, I'd like to think that at some point, if there's new leadership coming in, then maybe you start to pump the brakes if there's enough backlash and you're listening. But I don't know. You know, I get, like I said a moment ago, I get these, like, I call them little birdies. I get these whispers in my ear, you know, but you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And you can't, just because you think there's progress, until something's definitive, you really can't pump the brakes. And I encourage everybody to get out there and do something about it. Maybe the first step is everybody message Ellis and tell him you love it.
I kind of wish they would not have put a lot of this information out there until they had a little more concrete of what they were going to do.
But that's the world we live in. Announcements make good headlines. It gets clicks. It gets traffic. It makes people feel good, like investors and the board. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, everybody loves a good announcement. Nobody's paying attention to the walk back.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. There's a delay.
I was, I used to be a cast member. I mean, 30 years ago, I used to be a cast member there, but at Epcot, actually. And I don't know. I'm just old school, I guess. I haven't really brought myself around to a lot of the changes that they're wanting to make being something that is, I mean, they don't have a lot of handle on things. They don't even have handle on the cleanliness of the park yet as they used to. Everything's just gone down from across the board. I mean, when I was a cast member, you were, held to a certain standard as far as appearances even. And that doesn't even hold true anymore. And a lot of the Disney qualities that drew all these people to Disney aren't even there anymore.
Well, that's a post-pandemic issue.
I have a bigger issue with that.
Yeah. What did you do in Epcot?
I actually worked in a couple different places, but Outdoor Foods is where the last round of my job there.
Okay.
But we used to work in the Odyssey restaurant when it used to be the Odyssey.
Very cool.
And I used to work at one of the restaurants when it used to be a Communicore also.
Yeah, the Epcot evolution's an interesting one because, they get away with some of what they've pushed on Epcot because as a whole, the company has sort of shifted more IP. Epcot worked like a World's Fair, and a lot of those attractions, being sponsored by different companies, that kind of fit that whole vibe. And, you had that over in the other park too, but particularly at Epcot. And I feel like it's lost a lot of that. And I get the injection of IP into Epcot. I understand it. But, gosh, it's a shame. What now as an adult, because if I could have only, I loved Epcot as a kid, but not the way I love Epcot now. And if I could only have appreciated Epcot as a little kid, that Epcot to me was just, and it wasn't even the original Epcot at my age. I was born in 81. So by the time I'm seeing Epcot, there's an evolution there already. But I just have so many memories of, again, Mouse Gear and Electric Umbrella. I got to tell you, that is my Epcot childhood is Electric Umbrella. That was just I had to stop at Electric Umbrella Just like those little memories, you know? And I understand why things have to change, and I'm not against change. But everything has become so sterilized now, and maybe I'm a cynic. But I don't think kids are going to grow up and be like, oh my gosh, oh, the Starbucks in Epcot.
Yeah.
My parents used to take me to the Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, when I worked in outdoor foods, the cart that I used to work at, because we used to have to push our carts out. We didn't have all these permanent carts that stay outside all the time. We used to have to push the ice cream carts out. They had it full of dry ice and with the carts with no brakes on them. And we were the actual motor on these carts. They didn't have the hydraulic stuff that they do now. So I remember pushing these carts through the park, and we had to have at least one person out in front hollering at people to get out of the way, because we didn't have any brakes on it, basically. But we would have to push these carts out with full of dry ice out there. And the cart that I was at was the one closest to Figment.
okay.
And at that time, it was actually not Figment. This is how long ago. This is back in 1990. So when I worked out there, Captain EO and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and those were the big things in that area.
Yeah.
And the thing that drew everybody to that area was the jumping water.
Doesn't even work
I remember
anymore.
that because they used to be there huge. No.
Barely works.
And yeah.
Can I just tell you, the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience attraction, like, would scare the you-know-what out of me. I mean, obviously, I know what's going on. I'm not even talking, like, as a kid. Like, I was in, like, the last time I probably did that thing, I was in, like, middle school, if not high school, okay, before they ripped that thing out. No way.
Yeah.
The snakes going under the seat? No.
Under the seat, yes.
No.
The thing grabbing under the seat, yeah.
No. And then they have like the little shots of air on the back of your ankles.
Air. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now I think for me it was because it was supposed to be like insects. Because when they did that when I was a kid on Alien Encounter, before it even became Stitch's Great Escape, when they used to, I used to love that. Like that you felt the tongue flicking behind you. Like, how are they doing that? That's wild.
Yep.
You know, but no, insect, no. Between you and I, that's another reason why I don't like Tough to Be a Bug. Like, I don't want to feel that stuff. No, I don't want to feel like I know it's not real. I don't even want to pretend. It's just gross. It's just,
I mean, we live in Florida. So, I mean, if we want those kind of insects, we have to go outside at a certain time, and we get all kinds of insects.
Do you know how many times a day I say hello to a little lizard? Just because there's
exactly.
you walk past them like, hello, sir. I do. I just can't. It comes down. I don't know. We're like, excuse me, because they're everywhere. And then you get somebody who's not native to Florida, and they're like, oh my God, there's lizards. I'd be like, what? That was one lizard. I'm like, you'll walk out sometimes and 8 lizards will part. It's like the Red Sea parting.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're cute.
That's right.
I saved a lizard once, this little baby lizard. I rescued him. And I recognized him for the longest time because he was walking sideways. And I'd be like, what's up, buddy? How's your day? I haven't seen him in a while. I'm sure he's big now. You know, I wouldn't recognize him. But for that moment, I had a pet lizard.
Or the look on someone's face that's not actually from down here, and they grab one of those lizards by the tail, and the tail falls off.
You shouldn't
touch it. And they keep running.
Listen, I was at Animal Kingdom once, and I saw some guy trying to catch a lizard. And I don't know if somebody told him that I had my phone on him, because he came. I don't know if you saw that on the live. He came like right up in my face. And I was like, back up. But like, dude, don't touch a lizard. What's wrong with you? Why do people feel like they need to touch? Like when people let their kids feed ducks, you know, I've told this story before, but I once saw a kid feed ducks in the Magic Kingdom Oreos outside the popcorn cart to the right of the castle. And I'm not talking about little pieces of Oreo. I'm talking about half of a Fakakta Oreo. And I saw the Oreo go down the duck's throat. It looked like something out of a Warner Brothers cartoon where like the shape of the Oreo went down the duck's neck. Like zigzag, like it really did. I'm like, this duck's gonna choke, and the parents are just sitting there like, oh, my kid's cute. Drives me wild.
Yeah.
Don't touch. Oh, one time I'm walking through Epcot and I hear these little baby ducks go walking by. And I hear a gentleman turn to a cast member and go, "Are those ducks real?" Little baby ducks walking out of the through the railing and then back around to the grass kind of thing. I'm like, they're not droids in Galaxy's Edge, bro. What do you think, those ducks are animatronics? Right. Why would they spend money on animatronics when they can have natural ducks without paying for them? Like, did you think that through?
Right.
And also, boy, those look really, really good. Those are really fluid. Wow, those are staying together really well. Magnets? What's wrong with people?
Right.
I digress.
Yeah, they don't fade in the sun or anything. They just...
Yeah. Maybe some people shouldn't, just think before you speak. By the way, because this is the next topic I'm getting to, and then I'm going to let you go, and I appreciate you calling in. And more importantly,
thank you.
More importantly, I appreciate you watching all these years, and it is really the best way you can support is just by being here and hanging out. And I appreciate it because there's been an evolution here, and we're not going anywhere, but we learn, we grow together, and so thank you for sticking with me.
You're welcome, and thank you for everything you do, because we really do enjoy it. There's a certain group of us that have stuck with you right from the beginning, and when you don't show up, of course, we worry about you, and we know that's kind of over the top, but I mean, you've been part of our lives for 3 years, so that's basically where the worry comes from.
And I get it, and I do get it, and it's very sweet in the nature of social media. I just have still to this day not bought into the premise that people care that much, and I think that's just healthy for me. I think the day that you see me start making videos that are like that, I don't know, that self-interested is the day I've gone too far. I'm just I want to let people know what's up, but sometimes you just shift gears, and. But I like what I do. I like making a living here. I'm thankful for the support. And I think that there's just a lot to come. And I think that this format here, it's great to talk to folks like you that maybe don't even chime in the comments because for whatever reason,
No, the chat's a little bit, the chat's a little bit too much sometimes. So a lot of times I don't even have the chat on.
Right. Because
it's just a little bit too much sometimes. So I just like to hear what you have to say and hear what you're doing, because I mean, every day it could be a little bit different. We could be anywhere in the world. We could be even on Fortnite. We could be anywhere. And I come on and I watch. I don't really comment on a lot of things, but I like your content. I don't come in there for the chat, really.
Well, that's so cool. I appreciate that. And listen, between you and I, again, I'm giving away all my secrets to you, but sometimes it's true. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, I can't see the comments. The sun is in my eyes because I don't want to have to respond to anything I'm reading. Sometimes the sun's really in my eyes. But, you have to do that. You just, because it'll drive you up a wall.
Yeah.
So you have a great day, and I hope you call in again soon, okay?
You too. Thanks.
Oh, oops, sorry. My fat fingers slipped on the button. So sweet. So sweet. I just mentioned the droids in Galaxy's Edge. It occurs to me, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and she pointed me to that 4-hour video on Galaxy's Edge, and I didn't watch all 4 hours, but I watched way more than I expected to. By the way, give me a call, 253-263-1540. I love that. I love talking to folks, especially folks that have been around forever that I've never even necessarily engaged with before. And thank you for contributing to the goal on TikTok. Knocking out that goal is going to show me that you like what we're doing here, so we can continue doing that in addition to everything else that we've been doing. But anyway, it just got me thinking a lot about Star Wars, and not just the Star Wars hotel. And it's the woman that does the video, I mean, she's really good. She's just interesting to listen to. Her thoughts are organized. It's just very well done. But it got me thinking about the presence of Star Wars in Disney as a whole. I'm not even just going to keep it in one park, but the presence of Star Wars in Disney parks prior to the creation of Galaxy's Edge. And what I started to realize as I started to kind of think of what's been taken away is that despite them adding Galaxy's Edge, we actually have less Star Wars in the park than we did before Galaxy's Edge. They've gotten rid of the marches. They've gotten rid of the lightsaber duels with the kids. I remember seeing that in studios and at one point in Tomorrowland, or maybe that was over in Disneyland. I'm getting my wires crossed. But there were all these Star Wars things that happened. Celebrations, all these things that happen that we don't get anymore because we have Galaxy's Edge. But we don't get them in Galaxy's Edge. So it's interesting. They spent all that money there to create that land, the shopping mall with the 2 rides. And I love the look of it. But you made me think, listening to what she had to say and then thinking about my experiences, we actually get less Star Wars in the parks now. Why can't we still have stormtroopers marching through studios? Because we get 2 stormtroopers milling about? Like, that's cool. I love it. But a stormtrooper parade would be fantastic. I know why we don't have it. We all know why we don't have it. And it ruins the magic when you start to pull it back and go, well, it's labor costs. But seriously speaking, I mean, that's an experience that you can do with a real managed cost. There's just things that I feel like we've lost along the way in the pursuit of these larger experiences. And what this girl is, she's so eloquent and she's funny too, very dry. But what she talks about is the paywall of it all. And how so many things that were promised to us in Galaxy's Edge were pushed behind a paywall using that hotel as a premise that we never got in Galaxy's Edge. The character interactions, there was the shows. There's so many things that we were supposed to get, technologies that were developed for that area that were taken away from us. So very fascinating. Thank you, Rachel, for forcing me to watch that. No pun intended. That's another pun. I didn't mean to make that pun, but she literally was like, no, 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 no. And now that's 3 really lame puns that I've made this morning. Are there signal issues on YouTube? Somebody can let me know about that. Are there signal issues on YouTube? Somebody put the video up on the website. Somebody put it up on the website or tweet it out for me. Somebody in the back office knows what I'm talking about. There's Ellis. There's Ellis. It just got me thinking. Yeah, we got some great stuff. The Mandalorian is a great, it's not really a park thing, but it's a great addition. I mean, obviously it then trickles into the park. So there is upside, but ultimately in the park, we're getting less Star Wars. I don't know how you feel about it, but we're getting less Star Wars. And then again, and Alice, because you're here, I will reiterate, they canceled the next Star Wars movie they were working on, and it was a Rey movie. So I don't know what's going on over there with Star Wars. I kind of ranting about that in the beginning. Yours has been fine. Thank you, Sarah. It's hard to tell. I appreciate it. I know with the comments on TikTok, it makes it kind of the place for people to watch over YouTube. But I do like going live on YouTube because then it sets me up for a real quick replay there. You can have audio and video there. You can also get the podcast wherever you listen. So I don't know what's going on with Lucasfilm. I don't know what the future of Star Wars brings. I know it's not Rey. We covered that last time. But just days after talking about it, they're canceling the next movie. Maybe they have a plan. That's hopeful thinking. All right. 253-263-1540. One of the things, I'm going back to this Tyson fight now. I talked about it through the lens of Netflix a moment ago. But just talking about it for a moment through the lens of entertainment, sports entertainment has become massive. Massive. And at one point, Disney was going to get rid of ESPN, and they're keeping ESPN. And what you saw the other night with Netflix, with that fight, was trying to bite a piece out of the market. Now, a lot of people know Dana White as the UFC guy. The big winner these days in sports entertainment is Ari Emanuel. Ari Emanuel controls an agency that now owns the WWE and the UFC. That's, I believe, called TKO now, which I believe is a subsidiary of William Morris Endeavor, which were two separate talent agencies that merged. This is a big stakes guy. Big stakes guy. Nancy's having lag. Okay. So I don't know. Some do, some don't. That's all right. We're over on TikTok. We're recording the audio to podcast it out. So why am I saying all this? Because I think what has happened, and I'm not a big sports guy, but I think what has happened in the pursuit of entertainment, in the pursuit of sports entertainment, right? They are now chasing these big events, particularly like what you saw the other night with this Tyson fight. And it's a cash grab, right? It's a cash grab. But what I said earlier was that they were beta testing. It's like they can't afford to figure out how to get it right before they launch because they're too far behind. This Ari Emanuel, this TKO, this company now has a lock on all of this future entertainment. This Ari Emanuel has his hands in so much of the entertainment industry as a whole. And I just think it's fascinating to kind of peel back the curtain for a minute. Ari Emanuel's brother, Rahm Emanuel, was very, very big in the world of Barack Obama's presidency, ultimately became mayor of Chicago. Okay, these brothers are very, very powerful figures in the world. And I only like to bring this up to remind people that as you start to look at things, whether it's entertainment, business, politics, whatever it is, it all starts to funnel up to the top. And I just think it's interesting to see how things have gotten so small at the top. There used to be multiple media companies, right? And there used to be healthy competition. Now what has happened, there's just a few studios left. I consider Netflix a studio for the sake of this conversation, and in many ways there are. Okay, but now what has happened is there's less competition. Less competition means less accountability. And I talked to Kenzie again about this on the podcast, but you don't have anybody who's going to stand up to the Amazons, let alone the Netflixes. You don't have anybody out there that's going to stand up to these companies. As the quality continues to slip, whether it's in the entertainment world or the business world or whatever, or maybe it's just you not getting your package on time. But as the quality continues to slip in this direct-to-consumer environment, we've moved into this kind of gig economy, and everything's very short. Everything's very quick-paced. And I just find it fascinating that, and again, I talked to Kenzie about this if you haven't listened, so it might be a little redundant if you did, but I just find it fascinating how a company can get away with selling like something like that to people, a broken product, as I said earlier, with zero accountability. And then you have to ask yourself, well, who are we holding accountable? And it is true. I don't know if it's a monopoly in the true sense of the word, but I believe Amazon has got a monopoly. I really do. And you look at these companies, the few that are left, and they're tech companies, in the world of entertainment. They're tech companies now. And that's kind of Disney's pivot, right? Disney's trying to be more experiences. It's really more tech, right? Look at how much post-pandemic Disney has forced you to use the phone in the park. And then, of course, the advent of Disney Plus. And soon all of that will integrate together, I assure you. Okay. And in fact, later this week, I'm going to talk to you about AI. I have a really good clip I want to talk to you about the future of AI. But right now, I'm just thinking about Amazon and the monopoly that is Amazon. Yeah, I don't think Disney's using Amazon service. I never thought to look. I know, like I said, the architecture for Disney Plus came from BAM, but I don't know who else uses Amazon servers out there. But I'm beginning to, I mean, they're a monopoly. You know, and I'm not the kind of person that says don't let Amazon come set up warehouses, you know, in your city, you know, because I'm all about job creation. But you look at that and you go, well, where's the accountability? Like that fight the other night was a bad product. And they're not going to improve the product because we thought it was a bad product. They're only going to improve the product when there's a reason to. Look, when you saw me go to Japan, you saw me gripe about it on every level. The quality standards are higher. But I want to understand why it's okay in this country, okay, particularly because that's where I live and that's what I see. Why is it okay to sell the consumer a bad product, take their money with zero repercussions? Where's the outcry? Where's that Flickster outcry? I don't get it. We used to have consumer advocacy. We need like a Ralph Nader type again. I loved Ralph Nader. But like, where is it? You know, we're griping about Disney raising their prices. That's one thing. This is another great example of these companies having way too much power. And we live in a direct-to-consumer marketplace. So here's what has happened, right? If you really stop to think about what has happened, it used to be things were ad-driven, right? And you could leverage the advertiser. Well, when you take that out of the equation, you can't really leverage the company you're going up against, much like the airlines. What do? You just sit back and wait. They have all the control over us, you know? When there was an advertiser in the mix, you could leverage the advertisers. But in a direct-to-consumer marketplace, they get away with it. And the only real way to fight it is for them to experience heavy churn, which means subscriber loss. And I assure you they won't. Most people are subscribed. They don't even realize it. I mean, in a situation like that, it's a different story. But, you know, most people are subscribed to 2 or 3. That's the other scam. But most people are subscribed to 2 or 3 of these platforms and don't even realize it or don't even watch them. All right. I only signed up for Netflix for the fight. I called up. They gave me my money back right away. Call up. Even if you still are keeping your subscription, be like, what are you doing for me? Prorate me. They may say, oh, we can only give you a few bucks. Be like, no, you can do better. It might take 10 minutes out of your day to call. I tweeted out the number. But if more people do this stuff, you know, you'll get a response. You know, or at least you'll have the ability to cause a response. It's the same conversation with anything else, you know, but I find it fascinating as somebody that grew up in the late 80s and the early 90s where quality was still a thing, how it's totally acceptable to just sell bad goods to the customer with zero blowback. I would, like, that's the thing. I'm okay that the fight the other night was lame because we all kind of knew, like, all right, really? Like, it's like, really, is this dude going to knock out an old man? And is it really good for this guy's, for I don't even remember which Paul brother fought. I don't want to know them. I don't want to be able to distinguish them. So don't even tell me. I'll just call them Paul. Okay. But like nobody, like there was really, the only upside for the two of them was the money. Okay, so neither one of them had a real interest in knocking each other out. And we all knew in our heart of hearts, but we all buy into it for the entertainment value. So even if we're all complaining at the end of the day, we're being entertained. But to not have connectivity, your whole business is delivering the show and you can't deliver the show. I don't understand. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you remember Ralph Nader? There used to be somebody that would stand up and say, this is not acceptable. And I'm sorry, I know it's just a product, but everybody's, look at this, 70 million people, 65 million people. That's a ton of money. We just give our money to these companies. It's the same thing we talk about with Disney. We just give and give and give our money to these companies, and they're greedy, and there's no quality control. I got this survey from Disney the other day asking me about the quality of the park, and I started to fill it out. And then they started to get so micro with me because I said that the park was dirty. And then they were like, well, which queues were the rides dirty? I'm like, you want me to tell you where I saw a cup in a queue? Are you going to go send somebody to see if it's still there? Are you really waiting for me to tell you which queue I saw trash in? That's the data we're pulling? What's going on? 253-263-1540. It took 45 minutes to fill out that survey. I don't know if they read them, but if I'm going to sit here and complain about these companies, I'm certainly going to take the time to fill out the survey when I have the time. And I'm certainly going to pick up the phone and call. I thought about calling Netflix on the air. All right. Now let's briefly talk about ways you can support what we're doing here. Again, knocking out that gift goal on TikTok is going to let me know that you like what we're doing with the live format. We're still in the parks. We're doing Fortnite. We're doing all of these things. The response has been really, really awesome. So thank you all who have shot me messages and said, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate the encouragement. I really do. TV Remix, better than subbing on TikTok. Sub over there because that platform will outlive any trend. So that's just a good way. TVRemix.com. There are free replays to watch. There's also stuff like, celebrity interviews and stuff that I've produced, web series, and even a film that I directed. So there's content behind that wall. So if you throw your support over there, that's another way to do it. There's merchandise on the website, Joe Coconut Plush, things like that, the beanies, etc. You can always book your trip with us, and you can always follow me on YouTube and Instagram. We got to build up the YouTube and the Instagram. Go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. These are all ways to support what we're doing. So I don't want to get all the way into news because there's still Disney stuff I want to talk about. But before we get back to more Disney stuff, just because this is connected, I saw Conan O'Brien's going to host, and I talked to Kenzie again about this on the podcast, but I saw Conan O'Brien is going to host the Oscars. Conan O'Brien had the Tonight Show very briefly when he was at NBC Universal, and he lost it. He lost it. And you would have thought his agent at the time would have fought for him because he was so powerful. But he was so powerful, he had so many relationships and so many other actors and actresses and writers and so much talent in his arsenal that he really didn't go to the mat for Conan. Another bad pun, because the guy I'm talking about is Ari Emanuel, the guy that owns UFC and now the WWE, one of the biggest agents in Hollywood, super powerful guy. Brother's a big guy in the political world. There aren't many people at the top. So these, I only say all this because I want to share a story. So I was at NBC Universal at the time. And I worked a little bit with, and I'm very excited, by the way, because if Conan, and you go listen to the podcast with Kenzie, but if Conan does host the Oscars, there's this whole funny Mac and Me thing with Paul Rudd he can do, but I'm not going to reiterate a story that we already did. But if you know anything about that reference, so we were just talking about that, and it got me thinking, because, I got a story for everything. I was at NBC at the time. I was at NBC at the time that Conan lost the Tonight Show. In fact, at one point, I was working with Conan's production company on a TV show. I didn't really talk to him or anything. I saw him once, super tall dude. But anyway, it just got me thinking to a really, really funny story. And so I'm working on this show, and we're in Washington, D.C., and we're filming a show called Garza or Rough Justice or something with Jimmy Smits, who's in Star Wars. Everything connects together. All right. So we're shooting this show for NBC, and we're in Washington, D.C. We're at the stadium, and I'm up in the skybox. And the guy at the time who was running Conan's production company was a guy named David Kissinger, whose father was Henry Kissinger. And so, you know me, I love politics. I love world issues. I love, and I also love, again, how connected is everything, right? So anyway, so I'm standing hanging out there, and David's there. And I'm like eating a sandwich. There's no reason to tell this story other than I think it's hilarious. So anyway, I'm just hanging out. I don't remember who this guy's parents are, in the moment. We're working. I'm now at this point, like, they're filming down at the game. We're up in the skybox having something to drink, having a bite to eat. I got a sandwich in my hand. I'm eating the sandwich. I don't know. The crust was kind of whatever, I kind of take the plate and I go to put the plate off to the side. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean, what am I doing?" He goes, "You're just going to leave that there?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Everyone else is putting their food down there." He goes, "Not that." He goes, "You're going to wait." He goes, "You're going to waste that the rest of that sandwich?" I said, "It's just the crust." He goes, No, you're going to waste that?" He goes, "Do you know what my parents would do to me growing up if I didn't finish the sandwich?" And I didn't get it at first. I was like, "What?" And then I stopped and I looked at him and I was like, Oh. Grabbed my plate, shoved the crust in my mouth. I walked away. I'm like, I do not want to know. I do not want to know what being reprimanded by Henry Kissinger was like. But it just reminded me, as Conan comes up into the conversation, of working on that show, and more important than being anywhere in the sphere of Conan O'Brien, way cooler to get a little insight into somebody who was raised by Henry Kissinger. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to know. I'm just going to eat the crust. Don't tell me. I don't want to know if for all I know, he locked you in the pantry with the lights off for 8 hours. Can you imagine being raised by Henry Kissinger? What a scary man. 253-263-1540. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, I have a story for everything. When Conan O'Brien lost the Tonight Show, not only was I there, I was at the last episode, but I remember walking through the building before they gave it over to Chelsea Handler, because they spent $40 million building a studio for Conan O'Brien. I remember walking the building and just, looking at the ashes of the show. But what I will tell you, if you rewind 4.5, 5 years before Conan O'Brien ever got the Tonight Show, he was promised that he would get the bump 5 years out. He was doing the show after Jay, and they said, "We're going to give you the Tonight Show 5 years out." Now, if anybody caught the live that I did the last time I was in LA, and I ran into the head of the studio, and I quickly cut the live at the beginning of the live. So that's the guy I used to work for, right? So I remember at the time, 5 years ahead of time. Okay. Now, I don't remember what year this is, but they were using BlackBerries. And I remember I had to deliver the BlackBerry to his, I didn't have to, but I took the BlackBerry to his house. I'm like, no, I'll just run it to him. That's cool. So I'm hanging out, sitting in his driveway, and we're just kind of chopping it up. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. Conan O'Brien's getting the Tonight Show. And he's like, "Royce, Conan O'Brien's never getting the Tonight Show." And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? He goes, "Conan O'Brien is never getting the Tonight Show." I'm like, does he know this? And then you fast forward and you watched what happened. And it's just one of these things. And I talk about how small the world is, and I talk about relationships. But if you start to peel back the curtain and you look at how things work, a lot of these things are predetermined, particularly in the world of entertainment. And, whether you want to call it a scam or a fix or whatever, for someone to say that and then to watch it transpire. Now, that's not the only time. I watched us set up shows for people. I remember Jane Pauley had a show, and we were planning on shutting it down as she was getting it started, but she didn't know, and I just look at the way the world works as a whole and how many things are kind of predetermined, and we don't really get to jump in, right? We don't really get to have any impact, right? These companies control everything. And even if you have the opportunity to break through, even if you have the opportunity to work with a media company or a large advertiser or something, you wind up becoming beholden to them. They control you from the gate, And I find it interesting when I stop to think back on all these little stories, how the one reoccurring theme is that more times than not, these large companies already have an exit strategy and are ready to like in other words, let's bring it back to this fight the other night. Like, do you think that they didn't know that was going to flop? Like, do you think that they didn't know that that fight was going to have connectivity issues? You don't think that somebody didn't do the math on that and say, F it, as long as we only have a churn rate of so much on the back end, then this thing's a surefire. And again, we're beta testing, so who cares, right? We're just gonna, we want to know how it's gonna go, and we can factor it in, and that's the consumer culture. And the more it becomes a direct to consumer culture, the more things become predetermined, And it's a shame. It's a shame because we've lost our ability to influence things. We've all lost our ability to influence the consumer market. We've lost, and again, that goes by taking the advertiser out of the equation. If you didn't like something that a company was doing at one point, all right, you used to be able to stand up to them by boycotting an advertiser. You can't do that anymore. If you don't like what Disney's doing, all you can do is yell about it on Twitter, and it's like an echo chamber. You're not gonna boycott Disney. But I'm saying, like, if you don't like what somebody's doing, if you don't like what a company's doing anymore, where's the power? It's been taken away from us. Like, the fact now that losses are predetermined and we're still the ones paying the bill. Like, I find that wild about that fight the other night. Companies should go out of business for something like that. And obviously they won't. But a company should go out of business for pulling a maneuver like that. Kenzie and I brought up the Fire Festival on the podcast. That dude scammed. That thing went belly up because he didn't deliver. What's the difference? You didn't deliver. Most people couldn't watch the fight. Now, the reason the connectivity probably only got better as the fight progressed is because people probably logged off, so it freed up bandwidth. But I guarantee you from the gate, Netflix knew they were going to have connectivity issues. The entertainment industry as a whole is a bit of a scam if you really think about it, right? Like, if you really think about the entertainment industry as a whole, it's a scam. TV shows were meant to fill space between advertisers. I'll never forget the phrase, and I don't even remember who said it, but I'll never forget the phrase, and it might have been Eisner actually, but the phrase was to somebody producing a TV show. It was like, I don't pay you to make the show good. I pay you to make the show, right? Which means deliver the show. If the show is good, that's a bonus. And if you look at the way that traditional television advertising was structured, they paid up front, right? They pay up front for ad dollars, right? And they pay up based off the hype of a show. And the hype of a show is only as good as the premise and who cast it and produced by the people that brought you whatever, But then the show comes out, right? This is how TV advertising works in the traditional way, the way it used to work fully. And so they'd have upfronts and they'd sell the advertising. Then the show comes out, and let's say that this hit show is a flop. Well, they'll make it up to you. But we already took your money. We're not giving it back to you. We'll just give you more inventory. Right? It's a scam. It's all a scam. And at the end of the day, the consumer gets the short end of the stick. So it's not just Disney. It's not just Disney. And I saw that the other night for what it was. And I anticipated it. And, okay, fine. So you had 65, 70 million people watching. You're bragging about your connectivity issues? They literally put out a tweet where they're like, we broke all sorts of records. Even our servers were struggling. No, you don't get to brag about that. You don't get to spin the fact that your connectivity issues, that so many people were watching, that your connectivity issues were bad. You knew how many people were going to watch. You knew. And that, to brag, I have it written down. I don't even want to waste my time looking at it. But to brag about that in a tweet, even our servers were fighting. Yeah? Well, your servers put up a better fight than those two guys did. I just find it absurd. 253-263-1540. All of that ranting to say that we don't have any advocacy for the consumer. I wish we did. I really do. And, again, we're here to talk about Disney, not just Disney, but a lot of people are here to talk about Disney. I get it. But as a whole, as a consumer, They're just bleeding us dry these days, more than ever. I mean, think about like the loss of physical media. You used to buy something like a DVD, right? And this will be interesting when we talk about AI. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But you used to buy something like a DVD or a CD and put it on the shelf, and you owned it. Now you don't have that. Your Spotify account, your Netflix account, you're not paying for that. They're selling you access. And when they choose to remove something from that catalog, there's no repercussion. If you lend your friend a CD and they don't give it back to you, that's one thing. But a CD sitting on your shelf that you don't listen to is still accessible. But as soon as they take your favorite movie off of Disney Plus or Netflix, you're still paying. That's the scam. Okay? At some point, there was a decision made to start selling the consumer access and to stop selling them physical media. Remember, you used to rip your CD into iTunes? No. Now, if you remember that actually, and I'll pause there, I didn't even think that I was going to go down this road, but if you remember the early days of iTunes, they had something called digital rights management. And digital rights management was meant we don't want you to leave the walled garden that is Apple. Right? So we put DRM on the file. All right. But once they capped out, once they're like, we can't sell any more DRM protected music, they lifted the DRM because they wanted to start selling music beyond their devices. They wanted people to be able to buy their music. In other words, we maxed out on selling Apple Music for Apple products. Now we don't care about digital rights management anymore because it was a scam. All right. We're going to lift it so we can start selling, we can widen our market and start selling music to more people. Right. And then what happened? All of that goes away and you no longer buy and download. You just buy and have access. You create a playlist. You have a favorites list, whatever it's called. The algorithm suggests something to you, but you don't own it anymore. We're spending more than ever for less. We're spending more than ever for less. Hi, Kayla over on YouTube. Nice to see you all. Good morning, Nancy. 253-263-1540. Give me a call. I was expecting to hear from Ellis by now. Now, along the line of consumer advocacy, well, actually, you know what? Let's just hold for a second. Let's talk about Netflix for just another quick moment. Because I pulled these stats, and these are good. So what? 65 million people watched the other night. We're not going to say that everybody threw $15 down last night or the other night just to watch the fight, but you run the numbers. It's a ton of money. The 2023 pay packages for Netflix executives, senior executives. The CFO, $17 million. He took a pay cut, $100,000 pay cut, poor guy. The chief legal officer, $13.7 million, up $400,000. The chief communications officer, $6.9 million, same as the year previous. Chief talent officer, $6.4 million. That is like over $50 million in executive level compensation. $50 million to pay all these executives, and you can't deliver the thing you told your consumers they were paying for, they were buying? That's absurd. Nobody deserves that much money to do nothing. And you're doing nothing if you're not delivering the product that you sold. Point blank, period. Thank you. I don't get it. I see outcry over the fight being rigged. I don't see really any outcry over the connectivity issues. And the fact that Netflix can celebrate it like it's some sort of accomplishment boggles the mind. Okay? 253-263-1540. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. You can watch video of this on YouTube if you want to look at my talking head. You can listen to this on YouTube. You can listen to this wherever you get your podcast. I got to have a little sip of coffee there. Sorry. I'm at the bottom. You could hear it. Now, I was in the parks the other day, and it was nice because I got a lot of comments and messages from people. Nice to see you back in the park. You know, I even got messages that said, I really love what you're doing with the radio format. I love what you're doing with the radio format. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Very excited for it. I love that, and I appreciate the encouragement. And some people even said, hey, I actually like this better than what you're doing in the parks. And I know you're going to do both, but I actually like this better for me because I can listen. I don't care about the chat, you know, whatever. Was it 60 mil? That's nice. But somebody brought to my attention one of the things that turned them off to the live streams months ago was that they were supporting, you know, the gift goals over there. And again, if we knock that thing out, that really does show me that you support what we're doing here. And we have all morning. And somebody dropped the phone number in the chat in TikTok for me. But they brought to my attention, you know, obviously, they were like, look, it's very, very toxic, blah, 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 blah. Somebody reached out to them because they saw them gifting on TikTok and sent them a link to my earnings and said, you should pay your own bills. What in the world is wrong with people? Like, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but really, like, you have that much time on your hands. I mean, you should worry about yourself. If you're telling people to worry about themselves, how tone deaf are you? To tell somebody, and to be so preoccupied with what I'm making? Well, you must love it because these last few weeks, this is a big fat donut. But, I mean, like, really? Worry about yourself. You're worried about what I'm making? Worry about yourself. If you're worried about what I'm making, then clearly you're not making enough. Because if you were actually making money, you'd be focused on making more. But you're so devoid of whatever's going on over there. You're hitting up people supporting me, talking about what I make? Sounds like somebody's getting a lot of handouts that doesn't have to worry about making anything and is jealous. You can't have it both ways. Okay? You can't have it both ways. But how sad, like, I mean, I told you about, like, I posted the podcast on YouTube and immediately people were like trolling for Eugenia. I'm like, the people hate this woman so much that they have the keyword on Google Alerts. They have her name as a keyword on Google Alerts. Like, what is wrong with people? Why are you so preoccupied with somebody else is doing? With what somebody else is doing? Get a life. I think it's hilarious personally just because I'm like, oh, wow, you're a fan. You don't realize it, but you're a fan. Thanks. Thanks for supporting, right? Because any engagement's good engagement, right? But, you know, the Nudniks don't understand how it really, really works, right? But, I mean, who does that? Like, what? I mean, you got to be a real loser. A real loser. I had no idea. I mean, what? Okay. That was my Little John impression, apparently. Again, didn't mean to do it. I put up this video about the People Mover, and people were griping. They're griping about it. I'm like, listen, I put it up because somebody told me. I didn't think that it was going to blow up. And I didn't think y'all were going to get bent out of shape because I told you the People Mover's closing. Somebody told me it was a reputable source. I ran with it. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, you would have thought that we were like, I don't know. You would have thought that I launched a nuke. Which incidentally up here, I'm like 1 5-volt power supply away from being able to do, but that's not the point, okay? And I get it because that, and I said this earlier, that's what the internet is kind of for these days. Sadly, there's so much, and I find myself watching it too, but there's so much content out there that you just watch for no reason. Like I saw something the other day of a guy, okay, It was like a throw rug, like a round giant throw rug. All right. For some reason, it was covered the reason was the video, but for some reason, it was covered in dirt and tons of grass. It looked like a grass rug. All right. And then the guy pressure washes it, and then he covers it in tons of chemicals and soaps, and he keeps pressure washing it. And you're like, well, what color is this rug going to turn out to be? Right. And it turns out to be purple. And you're like, the rug started out that way. You only got it dirty for the video, and you probably made a ton of money off of this video. And I just watched it. But it's not contributing anything. It's not quality content. And we all fall victim to it. And there's that, I said it earlier on the phone. I think it was Laura. Rage. There's something called rage content, like rage bait. People will just do something. I saw a video of a guy who's like, let me show you how to mess up the front of your fridge. And he takes a grinder to a stainless steel fridge. And it's got millions of views. And people are freaking out in the comments. You're not doing it to elicit a positive response. You're not, and so it drives me crazy. And that's one of the reasons I started doing this whole thing. I wanted to start having more positive discourse, longer form conversation, hear from folks that maybe I don't get to talk to in the chat, and find out little morsels like that, hey, yeah, there's some lunatics out there that are way too focused on how much money you're making. 253-263-1540. Well, you just scroll, and then you scroll, and then you scroll. Ethan, it's just a mess. It's a mess. Now, let's make a hard pivot from how horrible things are to how good things can be. Kina has done such a fantastic job with your support of raising money for folks in North Carolina. Giving out tents to folks. I mean, there are folks that are literally trying not to lose their land, and they're going to be living out of tents for the foreseeable future. And we had Kina on the podcast, Kenzie and I did a few weeks back. And she can fill only so much in her car, and I think she's like halfway to filling her car. She wrote it in the Discord. Go look. But I think she's trying to raise another $400 to $600 or something like that. The email address is out there. It's in the Discord to help folks in North Carolina. I know we can do it. So go get the email address on the Discord. Somebody go reshare it, but I mean, like that's the example, right? So for all of this negative stuff, right? And for all of the conversation about the things that we can't control, I love jumping in where we can. And we did such a fantastic job of raising over $3,000. I heard Jimena already contributed yesterday. Incredibly generous. Thank you. So let's help her out. Good to see you, Mark. Let's help her out. And let's help out folks in North Carolina. Let's not wait for somebody else to do it. That's what I'm saying. I love that, right? And I'm not talking about let's make videos where you're helping people out and exploiting them. I can't stand those videos. Like, if you want to do something good and help out a homeless person, don't turn it into a TikTok. Because it's disingenuous. If you're doing it purely for the views, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. It's exploitative. And in many ways, it's not scalable. (253-263-1540). I can't stand those. Give me a call. I want to hear from you. I'm very, very excited because one of the things that we're going to do as we grow and evolve these live shows is not only take your calls, but we're going to hear from cast members anonymously and talking about issues in the park and highlighting things. I encourage you, if there's something going on in your community that you want to talk about, call in and let's talk about it, right? Let's put the spotlight on things where we can, and let's find out where we can jump in when we can to just to contribute in a slightly more positive way. All right. I'm as sarcastic as the next person. All right. And we all love to complain. That's the culture. But I'm at a certain point, like, I just want to make sure that, whatever we're doing here, we're doing a little good. And that's why I love the long form. So go to the Discord. You can join it via my website. Help Keena out, please. Help Keena out. Help out the folks in North Carolina. She's taking digital gift cards. You can email digital gift cards to Target and Walmart, please. Please. If 6 people send, now I have to do math. If 6 people send $50 gift cards, that's $300. That's huge. All right? If 12 people send $25 gift cards, it's the same. That was just quick division. I don't want to do more math, but help us out. 253-263-1540. I know it's a Monday, so it's a slow start, but I love it when the phone lines light up because they get to talk to you. I want to move into a little bit of news. And even before I want to move into a little news, I was in line at Spaceship Earth, and there was a guy in front of me on a speakerphone, And I'm like, when did that become acceptable? When did that become acceptable? You want to talk about things that are wrong with the culture. I'm standing in line. There are people all around me, and this guy's full on speakerphone. Also, does the person on the other end, where's the consideration? Do they know they're on speakerphone? What if they say something completely off the cuff? Like what? We've lost common courtesy. It really all goes back to that conversation at the top of the show about quality, Like, you're in line. Use an AirPod. Step out of the line if you need to use speakerphone. Maybe you have a sensory issue. Fine. I can hear the comments because there's always that one person, right? Well, Royce, did you consider the fact maybe he's allergic to phone calls? Okay, I don't care. Stop making excuses. Nobody in the queue wants to hear you. And it wasn't one call. He was rolling calls like he was running an office. I saw Coca-Cola, and I want to talk about AI tomorrow, but I saw Coca-Cola put out a Christmas ad, a Christmas video. And I'm assuming it's all AI because they said it was AI. Go check it out. It is so devoid of soul. It is so devoid of soul. And it's quick too. It's a quick paced, it's AI generated, right? And I guess it looks cool. Does it? I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but it doesn't lack any weight, And we're going to talk about AI tomorrow a little bit because I heard Ben Affleck talking about it, and it was a very astute. He's a very smart guy, actually. You can't say that for most actors, I know, but he doesn't get the credit where it's due. But the Coke ads that I remember growing up, there was soul in them. They were longer too. This was very quick, almost like if it was any longer, you would have seen the blemishes in the AI, But it was soulless to me, and I don't know. Like I get AI as a tool, but not as a replacement. And it was very. It didn't have any. It felt cold. There was no nostalgia, And I feel like those Coca-Cola holiday ads are supposed to be nostalgic, and I didn't feel it. It's very cold, very distant, very cold. And speaking of nostalgia, I went to Taco Bell the other day, and they have the 90s menu, which I didn't even know was real. I thought somebody just made a meme. So I got a gordita, and I didn't even know it was a gordita. It felt like a burrito in the wrapper. It's like half as thick as the old gordita. Remember the old gordita? The thing felt like naan. You know what I mean? It felt like naan. And I know it sounds like a lot of complaining, but at the end of the day, you look around and you're like, quality as a whole has gone down. And at some point, what is that? Oh, that's a box for a Steamboat Willie. but the quality has gone down across the board, and it drives me crazy, you know? So I was like, oh, cool, gordita, like that'll be something different. I'll get lunch at Taco Bell, 90s, Almost as disappointing as the SpongeBob meal at Wendy's. Did anybody go get the SpongeBob meal? You want to talk about a scam. You spent all this money marketing a SpongeBob meal at Wendy's, and there's nothing on the packaging. Like the whole opportunity to have a Krabby Patty wrapper. Why SpongeBob? So then what happens is, again, people show up, they're disappointed, but there's no accountability. What was the purpose of launching a Krabby Patty if you're not going to at least use a little marketing? Like brand the cups, brand the French fry sleeve, I'm not saying that SpongeBob has to show up and serve me at the window, but like they know they can get away with minimal effort. And even if they get backlash on social media, they're going to be trending, right? Like somebody's measured the upside in the outrage. And I don't know where that shift has occurred, where it has become acceptable. We talk about it a lot with Disney, lack of accountability, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I mean, Kenzie and I talked about like 100 scams on the podcast the other day, and it's almost like we didn't even like plan that. It's just almost like they're everywhere when you stop to look back. I don't know. I miss the days of boycotts. I remember being like a little kid and my mom was taking me to Toys R Us and they were boycotting Toys R Us. And I don't know what they were boycotting about, but I was like, boy, those people are angry. Like, and also like, good for them. Like, that's a lot of people. Like, they're being heard. Like, you don't see, I don't know, just don't see people doing that stuff anymore. Everybody stays at home. I liked the post. You posted, you're upset, and I liked it, and that's the end. Nobody really gets out there and does anything. Let's go to the phones. I love going to the phones. 504, you're on the air.
Hey, Royce.
Ellis, what do you want?
I was two questions. What do you think about WWE going to Netflix? Do you think it's gonna buffer as bad as it was buffering for the Boston match?
Do I think that Netflix is going to go out of business because of the boxing match?
No, I was saying, do you think it's going to be more buffering for WWE than it was for the boxing match?
Oh, I just took a guess because I didn't know what you said. Do I think there's going to be more buffering for WWE? Probably. I don't think you're going to have as many people watching wrestling on Netflix as you had watching that the other night. And I'd almost argue in many ways, Ellis, that, they can do the math off of that, right? They could say, well, we're only going to have 5 million people watching wrestling, so we know that we only have to do this much on the bandwidth now. That's why I'm saying I really think they used that fight the other night as a beta test. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Okay. And then why did they cancel the last Star Wars movie?
Because Rey was the future of Star Wars for 1 week. 1 week. Because they realized, they probably heard me say how weak she was as a character and realized that you were the only one buying Rey merch because they heard us talk about it. And it's probably me. I'm probably responsible for all of that.
No.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at that?
I'm disappointed that they canceled it.
You'll get over it.
Okay.
Listen, is your mom there?
No, she's on the other phone.
When next time you talk to your mother, tell her I said no more Rey merchandise.
Oh.
And also, enough with these Fortnite skins. Listen to me. Enough with these Fortnite skins. You got way too many Fortnite skins for somebody that's so, capriciously going in and out of retirement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you do. Ellis.
No, I don't.
I don't know what's going on with Star Wars, but they said that last week when we spoke, they said Rey was the future.
Yeah.
And then there was a post
Mhm.
that said the next Star Wars movie was canceled, and it had a picture of Rey's face right next to it. She didn't even last a week, bro.
Mhm.
I'm not even making this up.
I know.
I would totally make this up. It's something I would make up, but I don't have to because it's real.
Okay.
No more Rey.
Oh. Dang it.
Well, okay. To be fair, I don't know. They haven't told us what they're doing with the future movies, but at least that one movie, which I think was the Rey movie, is scrapped. But every other week, they're making an announcement, and then the week after that, they're retracting it. I don't know what is going on in Lucasfilm. You know what I need you to do? Are you going to be busy later today?
I don't think so.
All right. Can you do some homework for me?
Okay.
Can you grab a pen and write this down?
I can try.
No, you don't. What did Yoda say?
I don't know.
You don't know what Yoda said?
Use the force.
No, Yoda. Well, he did say that at some point, I'm sure. He said, do or do not. There is no try. You have a pen?
Okay. No, but I can remember it.
No. I need you to write this down. It's very important. I'll wait. Get a pen.
Okay.
I got at least another 2 hours to kill. Get a pen. Take us with you.
Okay.
Don't put the phone out. Where are you now? Are you upstairs?
I'm finding the pen.
All right, get a pen.
No, I'm downstairs.
Do you have paper?
No.
All right, well, you're going to need paper. Oh, hi, Stephanie.
Okay.
Oh, I want to talk to your mom next. I could talk to your mom all day.
Well, she could call in next then.
Yeah, well, tell her I want her to call in next, but I got to finish talking to you first.
Okay. He wants you to call in next. Okay.
But listen to Ellis. Listen to me. Can your mother hear what I'm saying?
trying to call people.
All right, don't yell at me. Jeez.
I'm not.
All right, listen. I want you to call Lucasfilm. All right, write down this name, Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Right. So you're going to call Lucasfilm. You're going to Google the number for Lucasfilm, and you're going to ask to speak to. And you're going to record this call, and you're going to ask to speak to Kathleen Kennedy, and ask her what's going on over there with Star Wars. And you're going to report back to us.
Okay.
All right. What are you gonna, now repeat it back to me so I know you have this correct.
I don't even see the phone number on the paper.
Stop yelling at me.
I'm not yelling at you.
It sounds like a yell.
I was saying, I don't see the phone number on the paper.
It's not on the paper because you didn't write it down, bro. Did you think that the phone number was just going to jump on the paper now?
Okay.
I mean, Apple's getting there.
Oh, okay.
All right, listen to me. You're going to have to
I'm
Google.
nervous.
Listen, Ellis, focus. Call Lucasfilm.
Okay.
Ask to speak to Kathleen Kennedy. She's going to have nothing but free time, so she should be available.
Okay.
And simply say, and if she asks where you're calling from, tell her you're calling from CNBC Financial. Okay. And
CNBC
just say,
Financial.
I'm calling from Fast Money with Jim Cramer.
Okay.
Say I'm calling from Fast Money with Jim
Or
Cramer.
should I say I'm calling from New Orleans?
Calling from where? New Orleans? Yeah, you can do that. You know what? You're on to something there. That's better. This is Ellis from New Orleans. I like that. This is why you don't need help. And just say, what's going on over there with Star Wars? Like, what's up? All right, let's practice. You ready?
Okay,
So you call, so you go ring, 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 and then I'll go, hello, Star Wars, and then you ask to speak to Kathleen Kennedy. I just want to make sure you have this figured out. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
All right, go.
Can I please speak
No,
to Kathleen Kennedy?
the phone didn't ring yet. You got to ring, ring, ring.
Can I please speak to Kathleen Kennedy?
No, you got to ring the phone for it. Go ring, 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 and I'll say, hello, Star Wars.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hello, Star Wars.
Can I please talk to Kathleen Kennedy?
Oh, I'm sorry, she's busy right now.
Okay, I guess I'll call that later then.
No, see, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to say, oh, I'll wait.
Okay.
All right, let's try it again. All right, ring, ring, ring.
Ring, 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 ring.
Hello, Star Wars.
Can I talk to Kathleen Kennedy?
I'm sorry, she's very busy right now.
I'll wait.
No, I'm sorry, she's really, really busy right now. She's trying to run like a whole company, and she's not very good at it, so she's really, really concentrating. Please don't laugh at me, sir. I'm just the operator.
I don't mind waiting.
No, sir, I really can't have you wait.
Okay.
No, Ellis, you were doing so good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just, you can't give up.
Okay.
You can't take no for an answer like you do with me.
Right.
I don't care what they say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then you report back to us and let us know what Kathleen had, and that'll be the beginning of Ellis the reporter. I think it's a fantastic idea, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are persistent, if not dedicated.
So is it actually a Lucas phone number?
Yeah, of course. Somebody's working there, allegedly.
Okay. All right.
All right. Find the phone number. Your mother will help you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you'll report back to us maybe tomorrow?
Yeah.
I mean, what time is it in California? It's
I don't
7:14
know.
a.m. I'm going to guess nobody gets to Lucasfilm till after 10 a.m. You know, in Hollywood, even though they're up north, they're not in Hollywood. But, you know, in the entertainment industry, nobody's really rolling in till 10 a.m. So maybe wait, give her a little bit of time, like 10:01, and then call.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay. Uh-huh. I'm good.
Yeah, you didn't expect homework today, did you?
No, I did not.
No, you did not. Are you thrown? Are you nervous?
No.
No.
But I think I can try and handle it.
I think you can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then after this, we'll focus on your love of all things Liberty Square and Rivers of America.
Hopefully she's not is she like a nice lady or something? I don't want to be talking to a stranger.
You don't want to be talking to a what?
A stranger.
You don't want to be talking to a stranger? I don't know if I would say she's a stranger, but she makes strange decisions.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Not a stranger. I mean, she knows Ray.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Oh, I heard you, you perked up there.
Well, I guess
Oh, look at you getting all focused now.
I got me more excited then.
Yeah, right. Now the dots are connecting in your head. You're calling the House of Ray.
Okay. All right.
But don't ask to speak for Ray. Don't ask to speak to Ray. Ask to speak to Kathleen.
Okay.
All right. I gotta go.
All right.
Tell your mom to call in though, because she's hilarious.
Okay.
Because I want to tell her to stop letting you waste all your money on Fortnite. All right, goodbye. Oh yeah, that kid. I say kid, but he's a grown man. But he's hilarious. He's the gift that keeps on giving. 253-263-1540. So I think it was Dan Aykroyd came out. This is just all entertainment news I'm going through at the moment. Dan Aykroyd came out and said he doesn't think he's doing any more Ghostbuster movies. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I started to think about it. You know, do we need more Ghostbuster movies? I mean, I finally caught this Frozen Empire movie, which wasn't funny. I caught it on the airplane, I think back from Japan, either to Japan or back from Japan. And like, yeah, okay, it was serviceable. But do we need any more Ghostbuster movies? In many ways, I feel like the Ghostbusters, the only two Ghostbuster movies that really count in my book are the original two. And then, of course, you have the two animated series, because there were the real Ghostbusters and then the other Ghostbusters series. But I feel like the magnitude of the Ghostbusters brand was I just feel like it was much bigger without those additional movies. You know, I feel like in many ways, those two movies built a much larger brand than anything the rest of those additional sequels combined created at all. I don't think there's any real value in what was made outside of Ghostbusters 2 and those animated series, you know, the original Ghostbusters, obviously, but in terms of, you know, sequelization, I don't think that there's anything that they've done that has come close to creating the value that those original two Ghostbuster movies sat there collecting dust for decades, and the power of Ghostbusters still stood the test of time. Those movies sat there. They just sat there. Nobody asked for a sequel, but the love of the IP, the love of all things Ghostbusters, was there for decades. And nobody was trying to do anything with it other than merchandise it. And there was enough love for the brand that they were able to do that. So I just question, what's the value if you're really just trying to sell merchandise, because you clearly are not invested in telling a decent story, then why, or at least a comedy, why continue to make Ghostbuster movies? Just stick with the originals and market the heck out of them and merchandise the heck out of them, you know? So I thought that was interesting. He doesn't see himself making any more. You shouldn't have made any of them. I mean, quite frankly, unless we could have gotten a third Ghostbusters movie with Harold Ramis and the entire original cast, I wasn't really interested in another Ghostbusters movie. Because much like the comment that Lucasfilm made the other week, you're just marketing nostalgia. And unlike Star Wars, there isn't really a whole plethora of characters to mine in the Ghostbusters universe, you know? You know, they're trying to do something there with the Stay Puft characters and make some sort of Stay Puft spinoff. That's cute. But you could just merchandise that little guy. You don't even need any content, you know? I don't know how you feel about that. You know, it's not all Disney, right? These are stories. These are characters we're talking about. I don't know if we need another Ghostbusters movie. Kind of reminds me of any time they try to remake something where you kind of have that thought of, well, if you're really just selling me nostalgia, aren't I better served just going to watch the original? If all you have to offer is a lateral move or less, aren't I better watching the original? Isn't that untainted nostalgia? Isn't that what nostalgia really is? Not a bunch of callbacks to something? So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. And I love Ghostbusters. Love Ghostbusters, you know. But do we really need, do we really need another one? I thought Frozen Empire was decent as a movie, but then make the movie. I understand why you slap Ghostbusters on it, but make the movie. It wasn't a comedy in the vein of the first two. And even though Ghostbusters 2 is a tonal departure from the first one in many ways, I still adored it. I love Ghostbusters 2. Vigo is just absurd. Vigo's absurd. And then the Nintendo controllers and the Statue of Liberty, it's 80s at its best, even though that was early 90s probably. Quality. But I feel like in the age of TikTok and Instagram Reels and all this stuff, you know, it becomes harder and harder and harder to compete because short form content is so rapidly consumed and people become so conditioned to short form content that to get somebody to sit down to watch anything, okay, is a huge ask. So to have somebody sit down and watch a movie, unless it's filled with, you know, flashy objects and special effects to keep the pacing, it's really, really tough. You know, you're competing with the TikTok culture. And even TikTok's getting away from short form because they recognize that you need to go long form at some point. But short form culture has kind of made long form storytelling a little bit harder in terms of breaking through in the market. You know, quality always seems to break through. Quality storytelling seems to break through. Expectation levels have been lowered. 253-263-1540. All right, now talking about content. This is something else that drives me nuts. There's a guy on, like, I don't know, he's probably on every platform, but he's like, I see him on Instagram, right? And he takes these expensive Lego sets and he goes wakeboarding with them. So the whole video, the whole concept is you just want to see this guy drop and destroy this Lego set, this multi-$100 Lego set, several $100 Lego set. You know, he's not showing you it being built, at least not in this video. You're not walking away with anything other than low quality entertainment. And I watched the whole thing because I wanted to see him drop it. I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm just saying it's horrific. So now, not only is this guy carrying this one I saw was the Titanic. He's got the thing on the wakeboard trying not to drop it. What happens if he does drop it? How is this quality? It's brain rot is what it is. It's brain rot. Wild to me. Just like a $500, $600 Lego set. But you do it for clicks. What people do for clicks, what they do for views, it's nuts. Like the guy I told you about earlier, the stainless steel fridge, and he's hitting it with an air grinder. What is going on? You know, the podcast market is completely oversaturated. But one of the things I like about the idea of podcasting, particularly in today's environment, is that it opens up the long form conversation. It opens up the ability to actually, have a conversation, potentially disagree, and maybe even find common ground. I love that. Even the chat in a TikTok live sort of operates in a short form format, because I'll respond to somebody and then somebody else comes in, and because they're new in the moment, they're going to ask the same questions I just answered. What ride is this? They're not going to look, because that would take too much effort. They want to engage. They're going to, so they're, even though the lives are long form, the nature of engagement with the chat is very short form. You can't really have a long form conversation with somebody because A, the way things get filtered, and just B, the nature of scrolling through a chat, it doesn't allow it. So even though the lives can be long form, the discourse is short form. And much like comments on a social media post, there really is no back and forth. So I love bringing back talk radio. I love using TikTok as a platform to do it. And I'll discuss anything. I've talked about Disney. All right. I'll talk anything. I'll talk politics all day long. I don't care who tunes out, because I just want to talk to people. And I don't care if you disagree with me. I don't care if you want to call and tell me I'm wrong about something. I'll listen. I'll do my best. I'm a human being. I'll do my best. But people are so sensitive. Gosh, I posted stuff on Twitter and you'd be amazed. I posted a picture and people get so up in arms. Just because you don't like who's in the picture, unfollow. I made a joke. I made like a couple jokes, right? The only reason I did it is I was looking to do a long form Twitter post, one of those, what do they call it? Like not a chain, I can't think of the term, a thread, and I'd always been thinking like, I want to test what a thread looks like. Okay. That's how my mind was wired. And this seemed like an opportunity to write a thread. So I was like, I'll write a dumb, funny thread. And, I'm so sorry. People are so sensitive. Unfollow. All right, goodbye. Goodbye. There'll be a net gain at some point by doing this. But for those that don't get it, for those that don't like it, goodbye. And to those that want to call, hello, 253-263-1540. Write this down. Post it in the chat on TikTok, please. 253-263-1540. So this is sort of this next topic exists at the intersection of all things. I'm kind of mystified at how the Walt Disney Company chooses to manage their PR. this and irrespective of getting into the issues for a minute, let's just talk about it from a PR game purely. This Rachel Ziegler, or however you say it, who's playing Snow White, who, by the way, she's an attractive girl. I don't know why she doesn't even look like Snow White. First of all, she's got the Willy Wonka haircut, but not the Gene Wilder haircut, the Johnny Depp haircut. Okay, horrible choice. All right. And then meanwhile, I got Gal Gadot, who is just fabulous looking. But anyway, but she's very attractive, but they've really dumbed her down, and she doesn't even look like Snow White, in my opinion. But all of that aside, she's out there getting people all riled up on social media for expressing her views. Okay. And I'm not even going to comment on what she's talking about because I don't care. Okay. But if she's out there expressing herself, whether you like it or not, all right, she's in theory entitled to free speech, right? And when James Gunn did it and they didn't like what he said, they fired him, but then they brought him back. But when Gina Carano says something you don't like, you fire her and you leave her out in the dust. And then you got to ask yourself why. Were you just trying to get rid of that show in the first place, so you scapegoated her? Or are you just purely hypocritical? So you let one person say whatever they want, okay? Because now Disney got to her, to Rachel, because she started backpedaling. But like the way Disney manages their PR is so inconsistent. I personally don't want to hear what any actor has to say for the most part on any of this stuff. I keep telling you I'm going to play this Ben Affleck clip tomorrow. He's talking about AI. It's an incredibly insightful, it's a long clip. It's incredibly insightful. I love hearing something like that, right? Oh, you're talking about your craft. Very cool. And you're really actually probing discourse because he's saying things that I don't think most people have even thought about. But I don't need to hear Gina's opinions any more than I need to hear Rachel's opinions. I don't really want to hear what any actor, I don't care. Show up, do your job, and go home. That's why when I do what I do and I go home, I don't think anybody cares what I had for dinner. Right? I don't care about, like there's supposed to be a disconnect, but this social media culture has made things so parasocial that everybody's invested in every waking minute. I know that because you follow somebody, maybe sometimes you want to hear what they have to say. But at the end of the day, if you're being hired by a company to promote something, I remember when Shia LaBeouf spoke out about Indiana Jones. I think he went on Conan, of all places. Things always come back. They always tie together. And Spielberg yelled at him because he chastised the Transformer movie. No, he was promoting Indiana Jones, and I think he chastised the Transformer movies, which Spielberg directed. Some version of that, whatever it was. He was biting the hand that feeds. And Spielberg said, hey, listen, there's a time to sell cars, and there's a time to share opinions. But you're out there marketing a movie. Nobody wants to hear your opinions. Market the movie. Point blank, period. I don't really care what an actor or an athlete has to say. Now, I'm going to argue with myself. You could say, well, listen, you're sitting here talking about how you feel on things. Well, yeah, it's free speech. I don't want to hear what they have to say when they're marketing something. Market the movie to me. If I want to hear what you have to say, yeah, okay, I get it. Maybe you have a podcast. Maybe there's a place I can go follow and listen, but you have to be considerate of the fact that you are tied to a company. You are tied to a brand, right? And the people that want to listen are going to find you, right? If you don't like what I have to say, just keep scrolling. Just hit delete, hit unfollow, whatever. I get it. But if a big brand, I'm not sponsored. If a big brand is paying, there's a time to sell cars, right? In other words, you're not in you're out there in an official capacity, right? So I know there's a blurred line because now you can go out there and you can send a tweet, and even though, it's your personal account, there's a movie being marketed by, in and around you in the moment. So maybe, despite the fact that the Twitter account isn't a Disney account or a movie account, it's your personal account, maybe you need to be more cognizant during the production, during the marketing of the product, while you're selling cars, of what you say. But shame on Disney for being completely inconsistent. They fired Gina Carano for less. They brought back James Gunn, who shouldn't be working anywhere as far as I'm concerned. Anywhere. 253-263-1540. Helping us hit that gift goal on TikTok is going to let me know you like what you're doing, or like what we're doing, and shows your support, right? We'll be in the park. We'll probably go to the park later once I podcast this out. It's available at Under the Influence. Ellis is golden, I agree. And yeah, and also go leave a review for the podcast. Go rate the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. You know, if you can rate, I don't care. I'm not telling you to give it 5 stars. If you think it deserves 1 star, that's fine too. Engagement is engagement is engagement. That's lost on a lot of people. That's why I find trolls to be so funny, because most people don't realize when you troll, you're only helping, you're only feeding the machine. It's fascinating to me. Fascinating to me. We live in such a fast-paced, negative culture, and some piece of misinformation can be put out and spread around so fast that it's almost too late to pick up the pieces and the damage is done. You know, it's fascinating to me how all of this connectivity and all of this access has actually made us less wise as a culture. I go back to that comment from earlier about the guy that looked at the baby ducks in Epcot and asked the cast member if they were real. What did you think they were? Animatronics? AI? AR? VR? We've almost become so desensitized to things, you know. It's almost like people don't think before they speak, and I think the comment culture does that too. Does anybody know what BHT is? BHT is a carcinogenic that can be found in food packaging. And I was just kind of reading up on different things over the weekend. Look, despite what's going on in the world, and despite however you may feel about, incoming leadership in our country, the one thing I think we can all agree on is the idea that we should be eating healthier. And I was kind of curious to find out what was in some of these different things. I often have heard about McDonald's French fries having pesticides in them. It turns out McDonald's admitted as of 2009, they no longer have these pesticides in their food, which means up until 2009, everybody who was consuming McDonald's French fries was consuming poison. I may have gotten the year wrong. Okay, but the point is, only up until recently did they make that change. Only till recently did we start paying attention to the food we put into our body. And I start seeing all these posts now about, attacking, the food, attacking the food business, which I'm all for. We should be eating healthy. So I started looking up stuff. So McDonald's, in fact, apparently had made that change. But I guess there's this thing called BHT, which is in our food, which is in things like cereal and things like that. The cereal packets that the kids get in school and stuff like that. And again, I mean, like, does anybody out there really not want to be eating healthier? Does anybody out there not want kids to be eating healthier? Like, has that really become politicized? So I just thought it was interesting, and I started researching it. I Googled it and read about it for 5 minutes. But, it's a chemical that's in more things than you realize. It's in more things than you realize. One of my biggest gripes when I started this podcast was around the time that Lunchly product came out, that whatever Paul brother, I don't remember. I think it was Logan. And KSI, who's like another one of these streamer goofballs, and Mr. Beast came out with this product. This Lunchable alternative for kids. And it's got mold in it. Not only is it bad, not only like nutritionally speaking, is it no better than Lunchables, but the product has mold in it. And I was griping about this on probably one of the earliest versions of this podcast. And I said, you have all that power and influence, and you're coming together, and the best you can do is sell crap food to kids. Shame on you. If I was ever given the opportunity, if I'm able to grow this thing with your support, to be able to have that kind of influence one day, the last thing I would do is double down on what's wrong. You know? And this influencer culture, much like the social media culture as a whole, focuses on the negative. If you had that kind of power and influence, I mean, wouldn't you want to do some good with it? Somebody said to me the other day, oh, you know, why don't you just stick to Disney? Why do you care? Why don't you just stick to Disney? Keep your head down and stick to Disney. And I'm paraphrasing because I care too much. Yeah, but you could just like really, like the stuff that makes money isn't the good-natured stuff. It isn't the productive content. It's the lowbrow stuff. Why don't you just embrace it and make money doing that? I'm not interested. I don't want to do that stuff. It's soulless. I love running around the park and hanging with everybody. We've been doing that for almost 4 years. But like the pursuit of more quality conversation, particularly with an audience that has been with me this long, that is more valuable. You know, I mentioned earlier helping Kina out, right? We're trying to raise money to get more stuff to folks in need in North Carolina. There's an email address on the Discord. But you haven't seen me post, other than a little update in the newsletter, because we want people to know what we're up to. And we didn't plan any of this. It just happened on a whim. But you haven't seen one video, because that's not what it is. It isn't about the clicks. If you're truly trying to make a difference, then you do it at a loss, right? And it's not a loss because you're doing something good, but you don't do it with your own interests in the forefront. You don't do something like that because you're going to make a video and exploit it. I remember seeing people in the parks in the early days of Disney streaming do a lot of that stuff. Oh, let me stage a giveaway to get clicks, make me look like a good guy. You're not a good guy, you're a sham. If you're really doing something good, you generally don't talk about it, right? It's the person that keeps pointing, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at what I'm doing. That's the person you trust the least, okay? I don't see any value in being exploitative when you do this stuff. I do see value in building a community, particularly through long-form discourse, that is able to react and support local communities. So it's not just helping Kina. If there's something going on that you want to talk about, if there's something in your community that you want to put the spotlight on, something we should be discussing, let's talk about it. This is only the beginning. 253-263-1540. Thank you, Becky. Good to see you. And hello to everybody on TikTok and YouTube. Knocking out that gift goal is going to let me know that you support what we're doing here. So thank you for contributing to that gift goal. It really does help out a lot, okay? We're making a big pivot here, and it isn't going to happen without a lot of effort, you know, and we can talk about Disney, but we can talk about anything. And quite frankly, if you've been watching me long enough, my thought process is, then you want to talk about anything. Because if you've been around long enough, then why you don't want to restrict conversation. It's almost the opposite. It's almost like I want to hear what this person has to say. And that's a two-way street. Because if somebody says something here, I will often reach out to them off the live to finish the conversation or to get more information. You know? Because it's valuable. It's valuable. Let's go to the phones. 504, you're on the air. Who's next?
The only way.
Ellis, whoa, Ellis.
Only way.
Ellis,
Yeah.
I didn't even finish saying hello, and you're
Oh.
2/3 of the way. You're 2/3 2/3 of the way through the sentence. You're picking up the slack today. What's
only
up?
way I'll do. The only way I'll do is if why don't we both call in or something?
No. You call on your own time.
Okay.
I can't do
I'm
everything.
kind of really nervous.
Well, then unnervous yourself. Do you have a paper bag you can breathe
Like
into?
I don't want to be like if it's against the law, if it's illegal
It's
or
not illegal.
illegal.
Okay, don't record the call. Don't record the call. But it's not illegal. Is your mom telling you no?
No, she didn't say no.
Okay, good. It's not illegal. You can call anybody in this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not illegal to call somebody. Recording a phone call without somebody's consent is illegal in many states. Not all.
Mm-hmm.
So don't record the call. Take notes. But still, call. It's not illegal to call. You call anybody you want. You call anybody you want.
Mm-hmm. So what? I mean, why don't we just both call in or something?
Because if I have to do everything, then how do we grow? You know, the idea
It
is
would
to have
make
help.
me more happy if we.
What?
It would make me more happy if we both called in to Kathleen Kennedy.
Did you just hit me with Jewish guilt?
A Jewish kill.
Jewish guilt. You just said it would make you more happy if I called with you? Like now I
Yeah.
have to factor in your emotional state? Do you want to know
I
something?
want to say that,
Do you want
but
to know something? If you're a
Mhm.
little less happy when you call, I'll be okay with it.
Well.
All right?
but at least you can help me call in. Though,
I don't need to
or
help
something.
you. You're perfectly capable.
What? Come
when
on.
I asked you for the Ellis Fest shirt, you picked up the phone and called that poor woman. Did you not?
Wait, call the port. Wait,
Huh?
who did I?
Ellis, you got to go. I'm getting on an
Who
airplane.
did I call?
Ellis, I'm getting on an airplane.
Uh,
I got to go.
please tell me
The
call.
pilot's calling. Captain, I'm trying. They're trying to take off.
Oh.
Why are you laughing at me?
I'm not. I just
I have to
need
put my
help.
I have to put my seat table tray in the upright lock position. I gotta go.
Well, it would only help if you help me call.
You don't care that this plane's not taking off at all, really. You don't care that there's an entire plane full of people that are being delayed right now by you.
It does not.
What?
I said there's not a plane.
I'm trying to. Mr. Pilot, please. Why would I be talking to a pilot otherwise?
Okay, I'll let you go under one condition.
What? It's not a negotiation. I gotta go.
Can it be,
It's Spirit Airlines. They're
Under
already
what
going bankrupt. We're not helping. What? You're gonna what?
just under one
What?
under one condition.
What?
Can you please help me call her?
Who's Carla?
I mean, call her.
No, you call her on your own.
Why can't you help me?
Why do I have to help you? You're perfectly capable of getting it done.
So what do I say? Like if
You
Let's
call
just
up. You
don't
call up. You call up. You call.
answer
Listen. I'll do the whole thing. You ready? Listen to me. Write this down. You writing this down? Are you writing
I
this
can
down?
remember it.
You're gonna remember it. Write this down in your mind.
Yeah.
All right. Take an imaginary pen and write this down in the imaginary notepad in your mind. You ready?
Yeah.
Call Lucasfilm. Ask for Kathleen Kennedy. Do not take no for an answer. And when she picks up, one question: what the hell is going on over there? Okay?
And she'll be
All right, hold on. You ready? Right? I'll be Kathleen Kennedy. Hello, this is
Okay.
Kathleen.
hello. What is going on with Star Wars?
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Do you want to help?
Okay.
Why are you mocking her? You don't talk in that voice.
Oh. I mean, okay, I'll try and help.
let me know how it goes. I gotta go.
So, wait, the front desk would answer or something?
What?
I said, would the front desk answer?
Will the who answer?
The people who the front desk of George
First
Lucas
of
Films.
all, how much closer is that phone going to get to your ear during this call? I mean, why don't you just shove the entire iPhone in your ear canal? Because you keep hitting the button.
I said he would answer the call if I call Lucas Films.
Are you asking me if they have a phone?
No, I'm asking who would answer the phone.
I won't answer the phone. I'm not going to be there.
Okay.
Why would I answer the phone? Ellis, that's ridiculous. Why would I answer the phone at Lucasfilm? Don't you think if I was already there, I would just knock on the door and be like, yo, Kathy, what's good?
Yeah.
All right. Are we done?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Okay.
If you don't do this, I will never stream Disney parks again.
Oh, no.
Well, see, now the stakes have been heightened.
Yeah.
There's 10 million people out there waiting for you to do this now. This is big.
Okay.
You know how you retired from Fortnite? I am officially retiring from Disney Lives until you call Kathleen Kennedy and ask her what the hell is going on over there. Okay. I'm retired.
You're not retired.
I'm hanging up my Joe Coconut Hawaiian shirt, available on my Printify, and that's it. It's over. I am retired. I'm retired. Although in many ways this is a retirement shirt. What?
I'll do it, okay?
Ellis, this plane has been sitting on the tarmac this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give the pilot your
I'm
phone
going to
number.
do it.
Huh?
I'm going to do it.
All right, I'm going to get off the plane. Hold on. All right.
All right.
Let me close the door. All right, I closed the door to the plane. Now we can talk. I'm off the plane. I'll get the next flight.
Okay.
All right. There's a very light door. It's a balsa wood door on the plane. Particle board, really. What?
I said I'll try and do it.
Don't try. Do it.
Okay.
I am never going back to Disney World and streaming Disney World ever again until you call. Which in many ways means you only have several hours. Because I was going to go to the park later.
All right.
I was going to go to the park later, but I'm retired. I can't go if I'm retired.
You're not retired.
Well, first of all, don't yell at me. Number one. All right.
I didn't yell at you.
Now you're yelling even more.
I'm not.
You're crescendoing. Seriously, I'm retired, and not until you do this homework do I come out of retirement, okay?
Okay.
253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. Ellis, what's that number?
253-1640.
That's right. I think that was my IP address.
Okay, I'm gonna.
All right, I gotta go. Ellis, I gotta go. All right. Woo. It's a lot. He's gold. He is gold. He panicked. He panicked when I said I was retiring. Ay. All right. We have covered a lot. You know, I started the show by talking about the fact that the Disney stock has gone up. That's fantastic news. Okay, but it doesn't take away from the fact that, you know, they obviously are looking to appoint a new CEO. There was the earnings call Thursday where they kind of laid out a roadmap for the future. But in typical fashion, we know things change. That's fine. But the stock broke $1.10. I have not looked at the market today. I was hoping Tezzy called in today because I know we wanted to discuss this. But the stock is up, and that's good news. That's good news. I hope it continues to go up, and I hope that they don't shoot themselves in the foot by making the wrong CEO announcement. because I am of the mindset that the wrong announcement won't be good for the market. Now I also fear that what the market's going to like and what we as passionate consumers of Disney are going to like are two very different things. This idea of bringing in a former CEO of a gaming company who spearheaded microtransactions, okay, which are those little incremental payments. That sounds great. That sounds great if you're aligned with the current ideology of leadership. But that only is going to do the same thing that I've been talking about for Lord knows how long, which is accelerate the race to the ceiling. Because every time they choose to nickel and dime their most passionate consumers, they get a little bit closer to that ceiling. I talked about that Star Wars video earlier. That's a really, really good video. Okay, it's like 4 hours long. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a little bit of the beginning and a lot of the end. But at the end, she says the same thing, that the desire of the Walt Disney Company right now is to constantly keep charging for things that they never used to from the people that are willing to pay it, while completely disregarding the average customer. And what happens is you hit a ceiling there because, if everybody who used to go and made it a generational thing gets capped out, so in theory people are going less and less and less, if people are really only starting to go one time, and this is her point, then you hit that ceiling because there is no, I tell you the stories all the time about like when my family would take me. And those generational connections to the brand will start to wither away. Because if you're only coming once, maybe twice, and you can no longer make it that regular thing, then that thing that they're really, really milking right now will eventually dry up. Because to the point of nostalgia, in many ways, that's the same thing that the Walt Disney Company is doing as a whole. They're continuing to upcharge in areas where they were never charging before, and they're relying on their most feverish supporters because of that nostalgia, with no consideration for the brand identity as a whole, with no consideration for theming anymore. It's gouge, 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 take, take, take. You get less, they get more. But from the long-term brand perspective, that has a ceiling. Parents taking kids to show them what their parents took them. Grandparents going with grandchildren to see what it was when they took their parents. All of that. Do you know what I mean? All of that. It goes away at some point. And I don't know how the folks running the company right now don't understand the value that sits there. Epic Universe has created this false notion that Disney is going to hurt. They're going to be hurt by the opening of Epic. And even Iger said on the call last week, and somehow these nudniks that do the quote-unquote Disney news reported this, because I don't know how this is news, it's obvious, that it would be good for business for Disney, the opening of Epic. This nudnik Tom, who I can't stand, that's all he was talking about. Not all he was talking about, but in that one post, that's all he was talking about. That's how it works. Of course it's going to be good for Disney. Epic opening is going to be good for Disney. It's going to be good for the industry as a whole. What I hope it does is it pushes Disney to do some things better. Like I've said 100 times, we only have Galaxy's Edge because of Harry Potter. I don't think the threat to Disney is Epic. I think the threat to Disney is current leadership. Charge more, provide less. There's a ceiling there. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. Who's this?
Okay, I have some
Ellis,
good
you
news.
can't be Ellis. I got to have somebody else call. This is not the Ellis show. What do you want?
No, I have some good news.
What's the news?
I just tried to call the Lucasfilm, the guy answered, and I said, can I please speak to Kathleen Kennedy. And he transferred over to her phone, but it went to voicemail, and I left a message.
You left Kathleen Kennedy a voicemail?
Yeah.
Excellent. You left her your phone number?
No. I just left her a voicemail.
You didn't give her a number to call back?
No, I figured she'll call me back.
How is she going to know which Alice to call back? Ay, ay, ay. You called her and left her a voicemail. You didn't leave her a callback number. So what did you do? You said, hi, Kathleen. This is Ellis. Call me back. And you hung up? Hello?
No, like, the guy transferred her over to her phone. She didn't answer.
And then you left the voicemail. And okay, look, I'll be the voicemail. Leave the message again, just like you left it for her, okay? Beep.
Mm-hmm. Call me at 44201.
No, put your phone number out there. No, but did you, wait, so you left her your phone number?
Yeah, no.
Ay, vey, Izmir. Ay, ay, ay.
What?
Call back and be like, hey,
What,
it's me. Tell her the voicemail cut off.
Okay.
You need to leave a number. I like that in the reenactment you drop your phone number, but in the actual.
Well, I didn't. Okay.
What do you think? She has caller ID, or you think she just knows who you are? Oh, Ellis, as in Ray and Ellis. You're like, oh yeah, you're on our top earnings spreadsheet. We know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, great job. I commend you for calling. You found the number all on your own?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I called Lucas Jones and the guy answered.
Call that guy back and say, I need to leave my number for Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, what?
Call back and leave your number.
Okay.
Good job, though. Halfway there. Thank you, Ellis. This is why I love radio. That's why I love radio. But at least he called. I mean, I told you. I'm telling you, Ellis could single-handedly save the rivers of America. Okay? Single-handedly. Ellis's mom has not called in yet. Help us out by knocking out that gift goal on TikTok. That's going to let me know you like what we're doing here. Look, it's a very different format, but I love it. And I love when folks call in. It's a lot of fun. Wait, is he back? Are you still there?
Yeah,
I hung up on you.
To call back.
How did you come back?
No, you did.
I hung up on you.
I don't know.
You just sit on the phone line? Ellis, I got to take other calls.
I'll go.
Huh? Hello? Oh, he's gone. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, he's radio gold. He's radio gold. 253-263-1540. Oh, my God. Is he calling me again? No, it's a terminated call. Okay. 253-263-1540. Available wherever you get your podcasts. The reoccurring theme of scams was not something that I intended upon. But as Kenzie and I were chatting on the podcast yesterday, and that's available if you missed it, it's out. As we were chatting, I mean, it just becomes so apparent, like, and yeah, Disney is a great example. But as a whole, we don't have quality control. We don't have consumer advocacy. There's no accountability. And these companies get away with it. They get away with it. I still don't understand how Wendy's put out a Krabby Patty without any SpongeBob marketing. That I am mystified by that. Why? You didn't want to spend the money, and you knew that you'll get a few people upset, but at least you'll get impressions on social media. Same thing I said about Netflix. You knew the connectivity was going to be bad for the fight. You didn't choose to do anything about it. You said, who cares? They're already subscribed. Only so many people are going to call and cancel. Who cares? At least what we'll know is where our ceiling is as far as bandwidth is concerned. So when we start doing these smaller events, we know how much we really have to spend on connectivity. The whole entire fight the other night was a ruse. It was beta testing live sports. That's all it was. And they got away with it. 253-263-1540. I think what we'll do is we'll go to the parks a little bit later this evening. No promises. But by the time I get out of here and bump out this and upload it and do all that good stuff, you know, it just takes time. And then I've got packages to send out. I've got orders on the website. Go check that out. I got to get rid of these video games. I have all of these Atari Blast video games. So here's what I'm going to do right now, because you can support this. You can support this broadcast. You can support this channel the same way you always have, by knocking out the gift goal. So please help us out there, because obviously as we make these changes, you know, it's going backwards to go forward, right? You know, we do our thing in the park and that helps pay the bills, but to do this in the rebuild, we do need support, okay? And one of the ways that you can show your support is to go to the website. There's a store on the website. But I'm going to do something right now, and it's only as good as the moment I get off the air today. If you go to my website right now and buy a Joe Coconut plush, okay, I will send you a Miss Pac-Man video game. All right. Normally I've done t-shirts and giveaways like that, but if you buy the Joe Coconut plush on my website right now, so I'm only going to take care of the people that buy one right now before I go off the air today, because I got to go to the store anyway. I will take out the cardboard insert from the Miss Pac-Man video game. It's a box like this, right? It's a box like this. So what I'll do is take out the cardboard insert, put La Monkey inside with the controller and the dongle, and ship you the game and the monkey. So you'll get a free Miss Pac-Man video game if you go buy a Joe Coconut off my website. Nice way to support, you know, without using the TikTok of it all. Nice way for me to get rid of some of these video games. I got a wall of them downstairs. I'd love to sell a couple of them. I'd love to sell a couple dozen of them. So that's what I'll do, okay? If you buy a Joe Coconut off my website, I'll throw in a Miss Pac-Man video game. I'll throw them in the box and ship them in the box. Win-win. Okay? That's how we're going to get that done. 253-263-1540. I have not checked the Rivers of America petition, and I hope that you all continue to keep pushing the petition. And I encourage you all to share that petition with folks outside of the Disney ecosystem. Make sure that we're reaching people that have their own platform, that have their own reach, right? And let's try to get that picked up on somebody's blog, wherever, right? Maybe even somebody else's podcast. Like, let's get that going. So I know James was all over that the other day, but if you get that link, okay, it's on moveon.org, rather, I believe it's on. Is it on MoveOn or Change? I think it's on MoveOn. It'll be on the Discord. Get that link. I think we're getting close to 1,000 signatures. We may have already broken it, but we got to get traction outside of the Disney bubble to really get any response. Now, I suspect at some point there will be a response. I told you earlier, little birdies reach out to me, and it sounds like there's a reaction being had, but we cannot pump the brakes. We cannot pump the brakes, and we really do need it to find its way into the news cycle. That's the biggest barrier right now. That's what happened with Splash Mountain. As soon as that petition gets enough signatures and enough attention and it gets picked up into somebody's news cycle, we'll have leverage. And y'all are the only ones that are going to get that done. I don't know how many people are watching right now, but even if there's 100 of you, if 100 of you sent that petition to one person with a platform outside of the Disney ecosystem, one vlogger, one blogger, one content creator, one news reporter on Twitter, whatever it is, somebody will bite on it. Somebody will give it attention. And if we can break into the news media conversation, because look, the news media, anybody in the news media that can do a Disney hit piece is going to do it. All right, let's be honest. That's how it works, right? We talked about negativity. Okay, leverage it for good. People want to write articles railing against Disney, particularly if they're the competition, because it's clickbait. Leverage it. That's using the system for good, right? The very fact that somebody would rather write something negative about Disney is a plus in this situation. They're going to gut the rivers of America. Why isn't Pop Crunch or Crunchbase or one of these sites reporting on it? No brainer. No brainer. If everybody watching signs that and sends it to somebody, eventually it'll break through. And that's how you get things done. 407, it's not 407. In fact, that's not the number at all. That used to be the number. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. Thank you for the support over there on TikTok. It is on change.org with 706 signatures. That's amazing. We got to keep that going. Change.org. Change.org. I may have said move on earlier. Disney World Live on Twitter. Give me a call, 253-263-1540. Look, I'm here to talk about Disney, but I'm here to talk about anything, quite frankly. I like to do about 3.5 hours with you. We'll do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings. Call in, ask me anything you want. Okay? Doesn't have to be on topic. We've covered so much this morning. And I got a whole list of stuff to talk about tomorrow. All right? So call in, whatever you want to talk about. If you miss any of this, it's all podcasted out under the influence, the same place you get the weekly podcast with myself and Kenzie, who is absolutely fantastic. Same place. So you have the radio replays and you have the weekly pre-recorded podcast. The video is on YouTube. So instead of a TikTok live replay, just go over to YouTube. It goes out almost instantly. And we'll do it every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning. Then we'll spend the latter half of the day, the latter portion of the day in the park, maybe playing Fortnite, maybe do some giveaways, whatever it may be. But this will be the pivot for now. Nice new graphic. Thank you for that. And we'll run with it. I love that new graphic. We're gonna have to change the name of the show at some point. I get that, but I love the graphic. Makes perfect sense. I saw that go up on iTunes, sitting next to other podcasts. It looks legit. So go find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go like it or star it or review it, whatever. Go give it a rating. And all of that engagement on different podcast platforms is going to help. If you're on an iPhone, open up the podcast app on the iPhone. Save it to your library. Give it a review. Give it a star rating. It's all going to contribute. Let's get into the top 20 podcasts in 1 year. 1 year, top 20 podcasts with your support. I can't believe he called Kathleen Kennedy. Cannot believe. I mean, I can believe it, but not that quick. And didn't leave a phone number. What's that about? What is that about, Ellis? You don't leave a phone number? Come on. Come on. Man, we have covered so much. I even talked to you about, food and like, I mean, I have a list here, right? So what I'll do is over the course of the downtime, as I read things of interest, is I'll put them down on my list and then I'll clean up my list. And there's still stuff here that I'm not going to talk about till tomorrow purposely, but, I like to kind of, as I go throughout the week, pull stuff together and then sort it. And it's just, there's no shortage of Disney news. There really isn't. It's kind of amazing. And when you take a step and you pull back, like I said before, and I'll continue to say, almost everything winds up being connected. Things have gotten so small at the top. There are less and less companies. And I'm just fascinated that I can talk to you about Netflix, talk to you about Disney, and find the connective tissue without even trying. I love that, though. I love pulling back the curtain on how the world works. A lot of people don't realize that. I was talking about sports entertainment and the UFC, and Ellis is asking about the WWE on Netflix and all that. And I was talking about Ari Emanuel, big power broker in Hollywood. There are only so many people at the top controlling these decisions these days. And the consumer gets the short end of the stick. One of the things I really hope we accomplish here together, I talk about this a lot, in a perfect world, when it comes to Disney, the perfect response is a boycott. Nobody will do it. There is nobody, particularly in the vlogosphere of influence, that will actually put their money where their mouth is and do a boycott. I'll do it. I don't care. But nobody will do it. I'd be standing there by myself because nobody wants to lose their access. Could you imagine a boycott on Tom Sawyer Island? Could you imagine a whole bunch of folks get together with paper signs to totally get through security? Not doing anything surreptitious. Everybody congregates at like parade time or something on Tom Sawyer Island. And everybody goes right out there to the edge where the seating is so everybody can see on the parade route. Whatever that little restaurant used to be called, that little snack bar. Was it Aunt Polly's or something? I don't even know. And everybody just puts up signs. Save the rivers of America. Could you imagine how embarrassed Disney would be? Do you really think Disney is going to ban 100 of its guests? Maybe. But wouldn't it be worth it? Nobody's got the guts to do that anymore. Nobody's got the guts. So cool. That's how you make the news. That's how you force a response. But nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to lose access. It's too precious. And Disney's just been trading on that access forever. And I get it. It's what I like about not having access. I got invited to the Swan Reserve the other day to do that review, to do the media thing. And I labeled it as sponsored content. Because even though technically I'm there as media and it's not a sponsored thing, it's no different than them giving me a room to stay at and make a video about. They're inviting me somewhere. They're giving me access. I want to convey to you that in many ways, this is a biased piece of content by the nature of the invite. Even if I want to take my bias out of it, it's almost impossible because they're sending you to something that's designed to make you feel good about it, Most people go to these events and they don't have a negative thing to say because they're wined and dined. So I felt the need to label the food and wine videos for the Swan Reserve as sponsored content just to be transparent. I don't do those events often. And aside from I don't like being, herded like cattle, okay? And I get social anxiety in a lot of those situations. I just don't like the idea of like, you've now dined me, so I have to now I feel bad. Like, they really took care of me. I don't want to be too harsh on them. No, I want to be harsh on you. That's what a review is. If you do something and I don't like it, I want to share it. I want people to know. They expect the truth. That's why I don't hand out 10s on food reviews. It's very hard to get a 10 out of me. I love these content creators. Everything's a 10. I'm like, do you even know how this works? Or do you just make the video because you thought you should? Oh, it's 10. It's delicious. Okay, whatever. 253-263-1540. I mentioned earlier how going back into the parks the other day, I started to see things again for the first time. And it was funny because I got a survey, so I filled out the survey. But I noticed so many things that I hadn't been in a while. And so I guess things that you normally pass by on a revisit for the first time in a minute become more apparent to you. And I talked about how Tiana's Bayou Adventure had become more apparent to me than ever, how exposition-laden the ride is. And that's fine. But I was just pointing it out, that good storytelling is so valuable. And that is such an example of bad storytelling. You can people want to critique the ride all day long. Oh, I miss Splash Mountain. I'm not even going there. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the desire to tell a story through an experience. Okay? That attraction lacks. It is all exposition driven. It is not creative. It doesn't even do justice to the property. It's a very, very, it's like a Cliff Notes ride. It's a very linear, and of course it's a ride, so it's going to be linear, but it's a very, very simplistic concept. It's like 3 story beats, And I look at that and I gotta go, the same people that are working on that, in theory, had a hand in the new stuff in Tokyo, or some of the stuff that you've seen in the other international parks as of late. Like, we know they can do better, but they opt not to. And it just goes back to that larger conversation of charging more and giving less. But it was just a really stunning moment for me, going on that ride for the first time in a long time and realizing how lazy the storytelling was. You know, it's almost talking down to the audience. You know, Walt Disney, Jim Henson, they didn't talk down the kids, they talked to them. Like, how is that lost on the Walt Disney Company? Don't talk down the kids. Talk to everybody the same way. You talk to everybody the same way. And I just found that almost to be condescending, that instead of providing an experience that you could absorb, they opted to narrate the thing and do it in such a lazy way that it's kind of like, I heard, this is going to sound so out of left field, but I heard the guys that created South Park talking. Was it Matt and Trey? About and thens in storytelling. Like, in other words, if you were going to outline a story and you were like, this happened, and then, and this happened, and then, and this happened, and then he goes, oh, you got crap. That's crap storytelling. You're hand-holding them. You're telling them what's going on, as opposed to a cause and effect relationship with the story. Well, this happened, therefore, this happened. You know what I mean? So there's a cause and effect. There's another term they use. There was another pivot in there. I forget what it was. Another hinge, if you will. But and then is just like without purpose. So you need to have a cause and effect. If I'm on a ride like that, and all the best you can do to remind me what's going on is to say, oh, here we go, off to the party. Oh, we're getting small now. If I can't observe these things on my own, and you have to spoon feed it to me, then you failed. And the Walt Disney Company is supposed to be the king of storytelling. So I hear all this griping about it, and I just think the real critique on the ride is the execution of story. By the way, I got soaked the other day. It was a blast. I love it. Don't go on a water ride like I was talking to Laura about earlier if you don't want to get soaked. But just from a story perspective, maybe because I hadn't seen it in a minute, it just became so jarring to me how much exposition is in that ride. I don't know. There's not that kind of exposition on Mine Train. It's an experience. It's understood. And here's the thing. If you're actually paying homage to the IP, to the movie properly, people will inherently understand the story because they know the story. That's why when you go to Japan, you don't need to understand what they're saying on the Peter Pan ride because we all know the story of Peter Pan. And you can enjoy that ride as much, if not more, because it's spectacular, than if it was in English. Because you know the story. If they would have made Tiana's Bayou Adventure based off the story of the movie, they wouldn't have needed so much exposition. But for whatever reason, they wanted to have cute critters in there, okay, something the original attraction had, okay, and so they came up with this ill-conceived plot about a party. And then my other gripe about that is your only black princess is in work clothes the whole time. She doesn't get to wear a gown till the end. I don't like that. I'm a little uncomfortable with that. Why can't she be a princess during the whole ride? Why did it turn into a ride about a small business? I don't know. I don't like that. It seems counterproductive. You want it unfiltered? Here it is. 253-263-1540. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for supporting that gift goal over on TikTok. And thank you for watching on YouTube and buying a Joe Coconut. Everybody that buys a Joe Coconut on the website before the end of this show is going to get it shipped in a Miss Pac-Man. Okay? I'll probably do that again later in the week. All right? I had thought about doing it later in the week, but I'm doing it right now. So I'll probably extend that again. But right now, anybody that goes by and buys one, or right now, when I'm done uploading this podcast, I'll pack those up and send them to you. How's that sound? 253-263-1540. I hope Tezzy calls in this week, because I did want to actually talk more about Disney stock, but I'm kind of holding back because I know he had lots of great questions. And it's something him and I have talked about doing for quite some time. But the Disney stock shot up right after that earnings call. So for all the negative things that you can say, all the things we can say that we don't like in terms of decision-making at the Walt Disney Company, the earnings are there. Now, I maintain that they will hit a ceiling one day, but the earnings are there. So what does that do? It gives them an endorsement, right? Hey, as long as Wall Street's happy, as long as the shareholders are happy, as long as the board of directors are happy, we'll just continue down this path. I'm happy the stock is up, but I don't want that to be an endorsement of every decision they make, nor do I want to hurt the stock to get them to respond. So I'm happy the stock is up. I don't want the way things are going to continue. And as much as I'm happy the stock is up, I don't want that to be perceived as an endorsement of all things, And earnings calls are a funny thing, I mean, they came out there and they polished the turd and they had some really good data. But at the end of the day, they tell you a whole bunch. I mean, this is what Disney does. Everybody does this. But what they love to do is make these big, shiny announcements or roll out some fancy technology, in the park, because it looks good. It looks good for the stock. It gets Wall Street excited, and then they don't deliver on it. So you can make all these big announcements. Let's see. Let's even see what shakes out with Villains Land. I'm nervous on that. And nervous is an overstatement, but I hesitate with this company. They're very good at making big, splashy announcements, showing you really nice concept art, and then dialing it back. And I'm telling you, go watch that Star Wars video. That's a 4-hour video. And it was really fascinating. But I mean, this woman makes a really good point. The new model at Disney is to overpromise and underdeliver, and to use her summation. They took the best of Galaxy's Edge, and threw it behind a paywall. And I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. It's got like 10 million views. I mean, that's like the first video this woman has posted on YouTube in over a year. I mean, the amount of effort put into this video, it's so commendable. Commendable. I mean, the editing, the organization, the writing, just so much. And she went there. She paid to go, so she didn't have media access. She talks about this, and she documented everything. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I probably watched an hour of it. I was up till like 1 a.m. I just found myself just glued to it. So we'll get the link out there somebody will share the link, but it's really, really well done. And she makes a lot of great points about the overall state of Disney, and it's realized through the lens of that hotel. And then she talks about, so what's the hotel going to wind up being? Storage? The best possible solution is a dining experience per her estimation. But as great as that would be, it's much easier to just keep it as storage. Check it out. Good stuff. Good stuff. And it's all like, she's got footage from her iPhone from the trip, but it's mostly talking head. But she's fascinating, and she makes so many good points. And what clinched it for me was when she talked about that, and she started talking about those early Galaxy's Edge announcements. If you remember those early announcements, Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be so much different. I started off this episode today talking about how the presence of Star Wars in the parks post Galaxy's Edge has been heavily reduced. In getting Galaxy's Edge, we've gotten a lot less. And it couldn't be more true. And even the things that were promised in Galaxy's Edge were heavily reduced, and per her video, put behind that paywall. It's fascinating. And people pay it. Not everybody. People pay it. That Star Wars hotel was the perfect example of hitting the ceiling. There's only so many people that are going to go to that hotel, and unless you were to retheme it constantly, you're going to hit that ceiling. So if everybody that does it once and never comes back, where do you get new customers? What do you have, a coupon day like this is Jurassic Park? No. 253-263-1540. I know it's a Monday. Folks are getting back to work. Phone lines have been a little slow today. That's all right. Ellis has carried the weight. Thank you, Ellis. And thank you all for contributing to the gift goal on TikTok. Knocking that out shows your support for the format, shows your support for what we're doing. And when I'm done here in just a little bit, I'll podcast it out. I'll pack up those Joe coconuts. And you'll get a video game with Joe if you order a Joe before the show is over, okay? So thank you all for tuning in. We'll do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning. As you can see, I've got endless things to talk about. And it's so much more fun when you call in, you know. And I don't care if you want to go back to something we already talked about or just ask me something completely off the cuff. I don't mind. In fact, I challenge that. You know, Ellis does it all the time. That's what's fun about this for me. Especially the folks that I've never talked to before, you know. And usually I don't know what any of y'all sound like. You know, some of you I've talked to, but usually I'm just reading a name and text, and that's it. You know, so it's nice to get the username put with the sound, you know, with the sound of your voice, and it makes it for a really nice experience. Then you can go back and you can listen. Tomorrow, I'm going to play this clip about AI because I was kind of shocked that I'm not going to play it now, A, because I'm not wired for it, and B, because I don't want to get into this whole conversation. But I was kind of shocked that the way Ben Affleck delivered this response, because he's like, you'd think he's on something, but he was just so passionate about it. I was taken aback by it because my first response was, what is this guy on? You know, I was shocked. But he was almost like angry, you know, but he nails it as far as what AI has to offer in the entertainment landscape. You know, AI is moving really, really fast, and Disney announced that they're going to implement AI on the back end of things. And I can see how AI can create operational efficiencies. But the big gripe coming out of Hollywood is that AI is bad for art. And I think he just nailed it. And I think he nailed it from a revenue perspective. I think he nailed it from a creation perspective, you know. So I'll play that tomorrow. Like I said, it's a few minutes. As far as sound bites go, it's long enough. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about AI. I want to hear from you tomorrow on this as well. So make sure you take down the number, because I know a lot of you are using AI in the workplace. I know some of you are using ChatGPT to generate emails. So instead of getting into that today, I want to talk about that tomorrow because I'm just fascinated with it, you know. It's a trend, but it's not going anywhere. And at some point, there's much more beyond the trend, right? It does become a toolkit, not necessarily a replacement. So, and that's what he talks about. And I'm curious because I know, I don't want to put anyone on blast, but I know people personally who use ChatGPT for different things. And I'm sure there's people out there that use it to help with their resume or to apply for jobs. But how are you using AI in the workplace? I'm particularly interested in automation. You know, if there's anybody out there working in a factory environment or machinery, you know, AI for automation. You know, I mean, we are truly entering that Tony Stark Iron Man generation of things. You know, you see what Elon rolled out. And I don't like Elon Musk at all, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about him. But he rolled out those bots several months ago, which were prototypical. Okay, but we're getting very, very close to being able to have physical automation in the home. Look at how quick the Amazon Echo evolved. When the first Amazon Echo came out, it was just a fun device to play music. And I remember thinking, what are they going to do with this? I know there's more to this, but I didn't even understand when it came out the potential. And it truly was meant to be the Internet of Things. Now, granted, it's also a spy device. Let's be real. I mean, Amazon has contracts with the government. Those Amazon devices are recording everything, even when you're not talking to it. They have like a 1 minute open buffer. You can actually go back into history and listen to anything that your Amazon has recorded that you've talked to it at least with. I don't know if you can play the other recordings, but it does buffer them. So inadvertently, and I talked about Amazon at the top of the show being a monopoly, inadvertently, Amazon has put a spy device in everybody's house, and we've welcomed it with open arms. It's wild what we've accepted. We've open arms. We've welcomed that into our house. But automation is real, right? Like AI and automation together, creating efficiencies to create higher output. There's a benefit to the consumer there. So I'll play that clip tomorrow and we'll dive into that. But it's fascinating to me because you can villainize AI all day long, but it is inevitable. And like anything else in our culture, moderation, right? So there's an upside, there's a downside, moderation. But how are you using it? Because I know a lot of workplaces are implementing it, you know? But I do. I remember the Amazon Echo. Like, just wait till they launch a physical device that like walks around your house, you know? Much like that thing that bot that Elon rolled out. But I remember the Amazon Echo being just a music device. And then it became, I can connect it to this hub. So now I have lights in the house. And then IoT became more ubiquitous. And then if this, then that became more ubiquitous. And the next thing you know, you're using that device. And I'm sorry, I probably keep triggering your devices. But now suddenly you can use that device to do so many things. I, at one point, had it hooked up to a coffee pot. And I would say, Alexa, make the coffee. And I labeled the switch that. So when I said it, the grounds were sitting in the basket. And when I said it, because it was defaulted on, it triggered like a Wemo smart switch and would start brewing the coffee. It's like the Jetsons. So AI is a tool. It can be supplemental. It doesn't have to replace us. It scares me because, like I've talked about before, I've argued with AI over the Disney CEO succession plan. AI is not a know-all. I fear that we'll lean on it too much, but as a toolkit, it's promising. And I don't want to step on what Ben Affleck says, and I'll play it tomorrow, so make sure you're listening. But it's kind of fascinating that it could actually plug in and fill the gap of a missing revenue stream, particularly when it comes to entertainment, okay? I love that. I love that. Really, really insightful stuff. I am going to wrap this up unless you call 253-263-1540. If you buy a Joe Coconut off the website, I am going to throw in a free Miss Pac-Man video game. That offer is pretty much good until I end the show here in a moment. So go to royces.com. You can sign up for a subscription on TVRemix.com. There's free content. There's lots of stuff behind the paywall. Years of park live streams. If you want to see what the old live streams look like, I talked a lot less on them. Quite frankly, I think they are better. And you can also knock out the gift goal on TikTok. So there's ways to support what we're doing. I know the Live Fest thing has started on TikTok. I don't care about that. I care about making sure that I can earn a living doing this radio show and doing the Fortnite and the park streams and everything else that we have done in the past together, and less worried about lining TikTok's pockets and more worried about developing my revenue streams for the future of this platform. So at some point we'll have advertisers on the podcast, sponsors maybe. You know, I modified the YouTube live stream to try to get rid of all those ads. So there'll be ads on the YouTube replay, of course. But for the live streaming, I turned those off this morning because I heard your feedback there. So thank you for the feedback. Keep the feedback coming. All right? And I'll see you in the park a little bit later today, all right? How's that sound? Thank you all so much. Thank you, Ellis. Thank you, Ellis. You know, last week we had lots of calls. I know it's a Monday morning. You're getting your week started. Maybe you're too busy. You can't call in. You're at work. Ellis, you picked up the slack. I appreciate you. Thank you for that. I'll hang out with you on TikTok for half a second. Sarah said, not workplace, but I'm going to try it this week for recipe. Interesting. Okay, so that's what I want to find out because, you know, it is a tool. It is not a replacement for all things. All right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you real soon.